Yeah, it's a very rich profile, and we are glad to actually have you share with us from your, wealth of your knowledge this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Before I proceed, I'd like to say thank you as always, Tope. I'm proud to be a member of the HR with TA community, and congratulations to every one of us in Nigeria. You've already said we have no other place except Nigeria, and until we gather together in order to make our country how it should be, greater before, nothing can happen. We all have to collaborate together in order to make sure that Nigeria goes back to being great again. We were once the giants of Africa, and we must go back to being the giants of Africa. So I welcome you by saying good afternoon, the vision lead and convener, Mr. Tope Aloba. I welcome the guest speaker, Precious Ajonu, and Dr. Michael Rodriguez. I welcome you. Precious will talk on the role of HR in the public service and transformation, while Dr. Michael will speak to business leadership skills for MDs and CEOs in the VUCA economy. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk about the nation building mindset in the workplace. Now, when we're talking about the mindset is the key change agent. It is when the mindset changes that everything will change. Think about Lee Kuan Yew, the former president of Singapore. I refer to Lee Kuan Yew most of the time because Singapore was a fishing village. Listen to me, it was a fishing village. And look at Singapore now. They have the best university in the world, and the mindset of all the officers, of all the citizens have changed. So until we change our mindset, the topic before me today is developing nation-building mindset in the workplace. Remember, we all belong to one workplace or the other, but the conglomeration of all the people in a workplace, imagine a paradigm shift of their mindset. When we all have the same mindset, a transformational mindset, a mindset that is not transactional, a mindset that will not say, what is there in it for me? A mindset that will not say, if you don't give me this, I will not do this. Until we have a transformational mindset, we will remain the way we are. But of course, we don't want to remain the way we are. So that is why we need a mindset that is transformational, a mindset that is patriotic, that has a national pride. And so I've been given topic, give me just 5 minutes, but then I will run through it in any way. So what are those factors that are pivotal to us having a nation-building mindset in the workplace? Number one, we have to talk about patriotism and national pride. The moment you have your pride in Nigeria, I wake up every day and say, God bless Nigeria. Of course, because I don't have any other country. I travel all over the world, but after 2 to 3 weeks, unless I'm doing Omugo, that is taking care of a baby for the benefit of Dr. Michael Rodriguez. Omugo is when you go to visit your daughter or your son that just put to bed, and then you help them with baby care for a while. Unless I am doing that, that is what can only make me stay out of Nigeria for over 6 weeks. But apart from that, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I want to come back home, because home is the best at the end of the day. Home here in Nigeria, I can shout. People say Nigerians are loud, but yeah, because we build our houses with bricks and real mortar. And so we don't care if, we wouldn't be bothered with neighbors hearing what we're saying. So we shout, we jollificate a lot, we make noise, we dance, we're together. And so when you have national pride in Nigeria, you will have the right mindset. When you have the ethical behavior, community engagement, environmental responsibility, innovation and education, diversity and inclusion, these are the kinds of mindsets you must have in the workplace. Good governance, education and skills development. Tope said it the other time. We should move away from the fact that, they've not paid for my training. They've not done this. In Lagos State here, Lagos State government, I make bold to tell you that we thrive on self-development a lot. The government spends millions and millions of naira developing its workforce, but then the workforce itself, the members of staff have grown through the institutionalization and professionalization of the learning management system to learn how to develop yourself. So you see people going into the LMS to read, to navigate, to learn, unlearn, and relearn in order to be versatile. So when we have this kind of mindset that I need to develop myself, we will be there. We will build a nation that will thrive. Because what is the nation? Who is the nation? We are the nation. The workforce, the people in company ABC, the people in the public service, they are the ones that make the nation that we're talking about. What other responsibilities, factors? We talk about conflict resolution. We talk about infrastructure and technological advancement. We talk about health and well-being. It's a pity greatness passed on like that. Greatness was the admin officer when I was going through my International Coaching Federation course. She was the admin officer that took care of practically all of us from Lagos State government. She was a vivacious lady. She was restless. She was energetic. But look at how she was cut. Her life was cut short. It's still that mindset. Someone at that hospital should have said, look here, let's save it. This lady, let's stop the blood. Let's do something. Let's save her, even if it is to the fact that we will not discharge her if she does not pay. We will not discharge her if she does not bring a report, but save the life first. However, it was otherwise. May our soul continue to rest in peace. And so when we're talking about, I've already told you the kind of mindset we should have in the workplace. Now, what are the practical ways HR professionals can engage in nation building? We are the workforce planners. We are the ones that will take care of all the workforce in the place. And so the place of the HR professional is so pivotal. The HR professional must promote ethical practices. I hope we're all jotting down. The HR professional must promote ethical practices. The HR professional must promote initiatives that have to do with diversity and inclusion. We are the same. Look at the themes agenda of Lagos State now, the themes plus agenda. We have the themes agenda for 4 years. Now we are using the themes plus agenda that has a lot to do with social inclusion, that has a lot to do with youth development and engagement, and that has a lot to do with, what's the other one now? Diversity and inclusion. You know, what are we talking about? The youth must be empowered to do the right things. The youth must be empowered to fight crime. The youth must be empowered to chase all these one chance, lazy Yahoo boys out of the system. The HR professional must create job. When I talk about creating jobs, that's the job description. The HR professional must ensure that all the officers in a particular agency have their job descriptions. They know they must be able to hammer a lot on what is it now? Conflict resolution. There must not be any form of conflict in the workplace. It is the duty of the HR officer to ensure that the officers have skills development. Is it soft skills or hard skills? Is it generic knowledge or technical knowledge? There are so many ways the HR professional can build the workforce. And when the workforce are built properly in the workplace, at the end of the day, this will go into the nation that is our dear Nigeria. we talk about the HR professional must talk about corporate social responsibility. Right now in my office, a lot of things are going on through CSR, corporate responsibility. The government cannot do it alone. Let's not fool ourselves. The government cannot do it alone. There must be collaboration. There must be PPP, public-private partnership. There must be a synergy in order to get to where we are. But when the people in a workplace believe that, there's no lights, will not do anything. There's no paper, will not do anything. They've not given me a laptop, I will not do anything. We must move. We must have a paradigm shift from the fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Gone are the days that we're looking for growth mindset. Now they call it the outward mindset. The outward mindset that will pick ideas from different places. You don't need to stay within a box because there is no box anymore. There is no box. Pick ideas from the young ones, from the Gen Zs, from the XYZ, from the Alpha. The Alpha children are the ones post-COVID. There are different things going on right now. Please, it is the HR professional that must change the mindset of people through leadership development, through health and well-being. You must make sure that all the staff, all your officers in your place of work are good to go. When their health is sound, they'll be able to develop more. Now, let me go to the next point, that is developing collaborative and growth mindset. So the growth mindset or the outward mindset. When we talk about having a collaborative and growth mindset in the workplace, what are we talking about? How can the HR officer do this? It is walking your talk. Walking your talk. You lead by example. Are you a latecomer? And then you say they should sign in into the attendance register or into the biometric machine. Who are you? You must lead by example. You must establish clear expectations. What are those things you're expecting from the workforce? You clear these ones. When you establish clear expectations, people will key into it. There'll be a path that they're walking into. You must foster open communications. Don't operate like a person. Open communication, be clear. Let them know the vision and the mission of the organizational vision. Is it in alignment with the personal vision? Those are the things that will make the mindset to be a growth one. And when all the minds of the officers in the workplace is that of a growth mindset, the nation will be a better place. We will not say, yes, there's no this, we want to riot. There's no this, we want to protest. But when we are in sync, there's synergy. The nation will be able to move ahead. We need to celebrate achievements and efforts. It's not always so bad. It's not always so bad. How many times have we acclaimed our leaders that, thank God for the rail line. Thank God for the blue line. Thank God for the rail line. Thank God for the places, the shanties that have been removed. Thank you, government, for making sure that the drains are clean. There's flood all over. Look at New York. Flood all over. The substations everywhere flooded. If it was in Nigeria, placards would have been blowing and being passed around. Let's for once celebrate achievements. It can be better, yes. It can be better. But the little achievement, let's celebrate them. Well, let's talk about inclusivity and diversity. Everybody must come in together. Let's talk about supporting well-being. Let's talk about developing mentorship programs. Tope talked about it. Mentorship programs. Is it upward mentoring or downward mentoring or peer mentoring? Let's do this so that we can grow, so that our nation, Nigeria, can be a better place. Let's create collaborative spaces. What we're doing today now, we're just 35 on the call. I would have expected us to be almost 100 plus, but then whatever we've learned here today, let's take it and cascade to other people. And now, what are the key elements of a collaborative mindset? What are the key elements of a collaborative mindset? A collaborative mindset is characterized by a set of beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that prioritize cooperation, teamwork, and collective achievement. And some of the elements we can actually use are open communication, like I said, shared goals. What are the shared goals? What are the goals that we must share, that we must key in together so that we can have a better workplace, we can have a better nation? Empathy, we need to care about one another. Look at Darius' greatness, he's gone. It pains me. The entire HR family in Nigeria, we are mourning. We are mourning a beautiful soul, an energetic soul. What empathy do we exude? Do we listen? Do we listen between the lines? Look at Mohbad that passed on. A lot of people will listen. We're not listening. They were just dancing. They were dancing to the lyrics. They didn't listen to the lyrics. He was complaining. He was complaining that things were bad. He was suffering. The father was not there. The mother was not there. The siblings are hungry. And that he doesn't know what is happening to him. He's being pushed to the front, he's being pushed to the back. If we had listened actively, we would have known that he was telling us something. The other gospel singer that passed on, she was singing her pains out. Nobody heard. The pastors were dancing. Nobody listened to the lyrics. Ekueme, each time she was shouting, Ekueme, you are the living God. She was in pain. But were we listening? Please, HR professionals, let's be empathetic. Let's listen. Let's read between the lines. Look at that person that's no longer smiling. Look at that person that's no longer commenting on the platform. Don't say the person is being proud. Why not find out why the person is no longer commenting? Why not find out why the person is no longer smiling? We are together. When we are together, we'll be able to build a viral and happy Nigeria or nation. We must be flexible. We must be patient. We must trust. We must have a positive attitude so that life can be better. And at the end of the day, we'll have a better nation. Now, what are those, we have already talked about the factors that we must imbibe in the collaborative mindset in the workplace. Now, what are those aspects that we must avoid? Lack of trust. We must avoid that. Communication barriers must be broken. Silo and departmental boundaries must be broken. This is my work. I'm in charge of finances. You don't want any other person to know it. No way. Break it down. Break it down. If you drop down dead, another person will take the files. Nothing can be ever hidden. Break communication barriers, break silo ways of doing things. This is my work. I'm in charge of secretariat. I'm in charge of this. No way. It is one nation, one organization. We must break down competitive culture. Why? Fine. It's good to ascend, to want to be up there, but don't compete negatively with others. Don't criticize negatively. Constructive criticism. Help others so that things can move. Inadequate leadership support must be broken. Unclear roles and responsibilities must be destroyed. Resistance to change must be broken. Lack of recognition must be destroyed. Information hoarding must be destroyed. Hierarchy and power dynamics must be broken. I tell my mentees, I groom people. Thank God for CIPM. CIPM says we deliver value through people. And that is why I love my mentees. I bring them all up. I want them to be greater than me. If I don't teach them, others will teach them. No one is a repository of knowledge. And even as I'm talking, please, I would like participants to drop in their questions in the Q&A column. And if the Q&A column is not booting, you can drop them in the chat so that we can be doing everything in concurrently. And so what are those things that we must avoid in the workplace? Time constraints, geographical dispersal. E.g., let me talk about geographical dispersal. Now I'm in Teaching Service Commission. I have officers living around Agege, that is Education District 1. I will not get value if I pick someone from Agege and send and make the person to work in Ikoyi. The person will be on the road most of the time. Yes, there are sub-buses, but then by the time the teacher gets to Ikoyi axis, it would need nothing less than 1 hour to settle down. What is the result in that? It is better we work together. We must leverage technology. Look at what we're doing now. We are leveraging technology. We are collaborating remotely. And we have the video conferencing. We have the Zoom link. When all these things are put together, we'll have a better nation with a right mindset. And then, of course, on productive meetings, let's shun all those unproductive meetings. I used to have a lot of sweets in my purse those days when I was in a particular ministry because the meeting would not be productive. And so I would keep popping my chocolate or my sweet or my chewing gum in my mouth, waiting for the meeting to be over. But gone are those days. Now we have productive meetings. Meetings that are not productive, shun them. And if you don't even have anything to say, let those that have productive things to say, let them talk. And that is the best way in the nation for us to have the right mindset for a nation that would be one of the best. And so the other thing I will talk about briefly is leveraging effective performance management in order to eliminate bias in the workplace. How do we do this? I said it initially, clearly defined expectations. Let there be job descriptions for people to know, standardized evaluation process. Let them be able to be assessed. Performance management. Once they have the key performance indicators, they know what they want to do, they will finish in good time and then they go home. Training and education is part of those things that you can leverage on performance management. Mitigate regency bias. Documentation, degree feedback, calibration sessions. Whoever is not doing well, tell him, do you want to talk about it? Why are you going down the scale? On a scale of 1 to 10, Shade, you've gone from 6 to 4. Is there something you'd like us to talk about? You must have those kind of conversations with your people. When you have such conversations with your workforce, the workplace will be a better place. You need to have zero tolerance for discrimination. You need to have data-driven decisions. Data is the currency now. Data is the currency in the workplace. So that once you have when you have data, you'll be able to make informed decisions. All these are all the things that we need in the workplace. And of course, we must shun unhealthy competition and destructive office politicking in the workplace in order to have a mindset that is productive for the nation. How can we do this? Never undermine colleagues. Avoid toxic gossips. Avoid favoritism. Avoid stealing credit. I hope we know what that means. Avoid stealing credit. You did not do this work. You quickly went to your manager in order to say, sir, I did this quickly. I've done this. You are stealing another person's credit. It is not good because at the end of the day, it will breed bitterness and what we call bad blood. Never hoard information. Never die with information. There is a book I read, Die Empty. You must die empty. Give out ideas to people. Let people learn from you. Let them grow from you. Let them be better people than you. And never create cliques. If there are cliques in the workplace, break them. Break them so that people will know that if they form cliques, you will always break them. Encourage whistleblowing. Avoid bullying and harassment. Harassment can come in different ways. I tell people that the way men harass women, women harass men. The way men bully women, women bully men. It is the two ways. All these things must be removed from the workplace so that we can have a better mindset in the workplace. Backstabbing, manipulative behavior, I call that witchcraft. When you manipulate people, you're a witch or a wizard. We must avoid such in the workplace. And even though, as I round up now, I would like to talk briefly, quickly, on developing employability skills amongst the Nigerian youth through the unified efforts of the HR professional body. We have collaborative initiatives. All you need to do is link up. To move ahead, to have a nation that is great. We'll be able to have leaders with the right mindset. And so, in developing organizational structure and culture that unites, that will make a business to flourish, we need to define our core values and mission. I sense the emotion, the passion in the voice of Tope Aloba when he was talking. That passion was about to bring tears from my eyes. That is a passion I feel when I'm talking to my youth. The passion that brought me to this level. I was given a level playing ground by the permanent secretaries that groomed me, and I keyed into it. I worked till midnight. At times we slept in the offices. But thank God today. Look at where I am today. And that is where I want my mentees to get to. We need to define core values and mission. We need to establish shared vision. We need leadership commitment. We need inclusive decision making. We need team building. We need recognition and awards. When they are doing well, please applaud them. When they are doing well, please award them. We need agility and adaptability. All these things are the things that can build a nation. These are the right mindsets that we need. And I really do hope, I know that I did a lot of rushing. It is when we develop a united and flourishing organizational structure and culture that we can have a nation that is superb, a nation that will grow, a nation that will give birth to other nations. And at the end of the day, we will say, God bless Nigeria. God bless the HR body. God bless all those that have helped us in having this paradigm shift. On this note, I will pause for a while and say thank you. Thank you, Tope Aloba, HR with TH, for having me on the board. Let me pause for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Olubusola Bidakun. We really appreciate you. And that was a very superb presentation as usual. Don't worry, we'll find a way. I'm sure if we have to listen to you for a whole day, people will never get bored because there's so much information out there, and we really, really appreciate it. See, when you talk about passion, you talk about giving it or die empty. You're just a true example of somebody who always love to share, and we are not surprised that you are growing so fast, and this is just the start for you. We wish you very best in all your future endeavor and in your new role. We are trusting that in the next few months we'll get the announcement of a bigger role as usual. So thank you so much. Please appreciate our guest, our keynote speaker. I call her Mrs. Olubusola Abida. God bless you so much. I don't know, right now we are behind schedule if you have any question, please drop. I know our keynote speaker is going to be leaving anytime soon, but please, if you can make your way back, maybe in the next 30, 40 minutes, we'll be having a plenary, a panelist session where all our guest speakers will be taking questions. Because of time, we will not be able to take questions now.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Should I come back at let's say 4 o'clock?
Yes, that'll be fine. 4 o'clock.
Okay, I'll be back. Please, all my test comments, nobody should drop. I can see a lot of my stuff. Please remain, because I'll just step out and then come in again. Thank you.
Thank
all
you.
Right.
And right now, we are going to be bringing on board the next guest speaker. And her name, I'm going to be mentioning any moment from now as I read the profile of our next guest speaker. Okay. Precious Imowahen Ajonun is the pioneer director general of the John Odige Oyegun Public Service Academy, JOSPA, Edo State, Nigeria. She was appointed to drive the institutionalization of the academy in line with global standards. Our vision is to make, well, please, first of all, can I confirm if she's still in the building? Please, can you confirm that, Habib? Okay. All right. Okay, so information reaching me now is that she would like to speak at the she would like to speak after Dr. Michael. So pardon me, I'm going to be switching speaker. Dr. Michael, please, can you confirm?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Michael B. Rodriguez, teaching faculty, Nexford University. Dr. Michael B. Rodriguez is a scholar in the field of business, a well-versed researcher, an international resource speaker, and a dedicated professor. Dr. Rodriguez has over 9 years of experience in higher education. He works full-time at Nexford University in Washington, D.C. as teaching faculty. Previously, Dr. Rodriguez was the program head of BS Business Administration and a faculty researcher at the Center for Publications, Research, Linkage, and Liaison at the University of Batangas, Lipa City. He also works as a part-time associate professor at the College of Entrepreneurship, Tourism, Hospitality, and Real Estate Management. His experiences in curriculum development, experiential learning, and business research made him a passionate and creative educator focusing on competency-based education. Dr. Rodriguez earned his Doctor of Business Administration degree in Lyceum of the Philippines University, Batangas, Philippines, with Academic Excellence Award in 2017. His Master in Business Administration from the same university in 2014. With a solid intellectual and practical foundation in business research and education tagged his determination and work ethic, Dr. Rodriguez continues to improve his craft by establishing links with national and international organizations. With pleasure, with clap and standing ovation, please make welcome Dr. Michael Rodriguez. Thank you for coming, Dr. Michael.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Let me share my screen for me to begin my presentation. I hope
Okay.
my screen is now visible on your end, everyone. Can you see it?
Yes,
All
we
right,
can see.
great. Okay, so again, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be invited by your professional network to speak about leadership skills in the VUCA economy. Again, to our keynote speaker, Mrs. Alubusola Abidakun, to our guest, Precious Ajunu, and to HR with TA Professional Network, headed by Temi Topi Aloba. Good afternoon to
Okay.
our attendees, to all of the guests that are here. Thank you so much. Again, I am extremely honored as I would be discussing leadership skills in the VUCA economy. Again, I am Dr. Michael Rodriguez. I am a teaching faculty at Nexford University. So if you know, most of our learners in Nexford are actually from Nigeria. So we are definitely happy to be doing this session with you as well. And my session is just a very succinct. I made sure that I just cover some of the things, important things that we need to take note and to remember about leadership in VUCA economy. And at the same time, I would give some specific tips on how we can also improve our leadership in general, whether you are working in a government agency, into a private agency, or if you are a leader for some of the people that you mentor or some of the people that you coach, definitely this is for you. Again, this is the roadmap of my discussion today. Number one is what is leadership, and then what is VUCA leadership, importance of VUCA leadership, and 7 skills for VUCA leadership, and how to improve our leadership skills. Again, I think Temi was able to mention earlier that we would have panelist session afterwards. So some of your questions may be addressed later on. All right. First thing is, I would like us to define leadership according to Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker has played a very significant role in my academic journey, in my career, because I have been having a lot of encounters in the things that he has been sharing about business acumen, about business leadership, strategic management. And according to him, leadership is the lifting of man's vision to higher heights, the raising of a man's performance to higher standard, the building of a man's personality beyond its normal limitations. One of the great key performance indicator, or one of the greatest success factor of a leader, is that we are able to create more leaders or other people who may be leading in the future. It's not creating, it's somewhat cliche that we say that leaders create more leaders rather than creating more followers, but this is actually true. We could say that we are successful leaders if we are able to empower people, if we are able to give people the chance to lead as well, and of course, learn from our coaching and mentorship. While we define here the leadership in general according to Peter Drucker, I would like to also define leadership in VUCA. When you say VUCA, it's about volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous leadership. It refers to leaders who are able or forced to shift and respond to changes in their respective industry or market with corresponding solutions that are quick and agile. VUCA leadership is becoming increasingly prominent as the world around us continues to evolve and shift in ways that have never been seen before. I know most of us are aware of how digital transformation, how business analytics, how technology take over our everyday lives, our business, the way we work, the way we deal with people. And as a leader who is always challenged with these advancements, you should be a VUCA leader, or someone who applies VUCA leadership in every day that we do. No leader on the planet had experienced navigating a business landscape during a global pandemic, for instance. even before this experience, we have been aware like what leadership is, but we are much more immersed now of VUCA leadership after we have experienced like a 2 to 3 years of pandemic. We are forced to adapt. We are forced to learn on the spot and conceptualize what are the agile way for us to lead people. It has been a great challenge for every one of us. It has been a great challenge to all of the leaders all over the world on how we could navigate through the business landscape through the advancement of technology. And VUCA was coined to define how leaders navigate the business landscape during the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times. These are the key terms that I would also discuss along the way in the next 20 minutes or so. And leadership during this time should not only help individuals understand change, but it also teaching people how to adapt change. It is much different if we understand change rather than understanding and applying these changes. We should be in the position to embrace on how we would also equip ourselves with the tools, the resources, the knowledge, and even the mindset in thriving into changing environment. I know that most of us are highly experienced in their respective fields. I was told that I would be speaking with some of the medical doctors here as well, other CEOs in their respective organizations. And I know it is a very great framework to learn that VUCA leadership is one of the ways for us to deal with agile environment, with continuous changes in business environment, in our leading or leadership landscape, or even in our everyday lives. So what is a VUCA leadership? VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Of course, let's start with volatile, or number one, which is volatility. It refers to the velocity of change in an industry or market. The current economic landscape means things are changing at a rapid rate and changes are more frequent and more unpredictable as ever. For example, there may be some change in government regulations, commodity pricing, supply chain practices, or even the global pandemic that none of us was able to foresee. And with our experiences, the number and severity of changes will determine how a leader would respond and overcome the challenges that may be outside the areas of your expertise or control. It is a great opportunity that we are exposed to different learning, different training sessions. That's why we could always embrace and take over volatility. Again, it's the velocity of change in an industry or market, in an ever-changing environment. As a leader, we should also be fast-paced. We should go with or keep up with the changes, with the rapid development in our industries, with different changes that we may not be able to foresee, that it's already there in front of us. Second is uncertainty. It's like fear of the unknown. Uncertainty refers to the level of something's unpredictability. As stated above, the current economic landscape makes it difficult for leaders to anticipate change. And as a result, leaders are being forced with a new subset of challenges that requires them to be a proactive stance by creating agile plans and strategies that account for an uncertain business landscape. One very good example is, let's say, you are much more predictive and prescriptive. Although a problem is not there, we can only feel that a problem may arise. As a good leader, we must know how to address this uncertainty. We must be ready of addressing specific problems that may come before us. As a leader, we should be highly present. We should be fully present of our environment so that we can also forecast or predict what could be the possible problem in our industry or in our organization. Number three is about complex or complexity. Making informed decisions is nearly impossible when leaders are faced with anticipating the repercussions of decisions in a volatile or uncertain market. I have already discussed how things change rapidly. It's the velocity or the volatility. And then we also discussed earlier the uncertainty. And now we must also embrace that we are also confronted with complexity. It refers to the difficulty that comes with operating in a volatile market. It is really hard. If you're working in a hospital, if you work in a government institution or government agency, if you own a private organization, we must know that the everyday operations is very complex. And as a leader, you must anticipate the challenges or even the roadblocks that you need to navigate with all of the complexities that come with embracing the changes in ever-changing environment. And number 4 is ambiguous. If complexity talks about what are the different difficult things that we may encounter, ambiguity is about the unknown, which is highly related to number 2, which is uncertainty. If being uncertain is about being unpredictable, ambiguous is something that we really do not know. This unknown may refer to a situation that is unclear to the leader or a potential solution that takes them out of their comfort zone or area of expertise. This is one of the greatest challenges that we encounter as a leader. There are things that we do not know. We should be also aware that we do not know everything, or we may not know anything. Even though we are trained, we are an achiever, we have been leading people in a couple of years, we must accept the fact that there would always be things that we do not know. There are no best practices or rule of thumb in every approaches. If you're a leader, if you're experiencing ambiguity, you must know that there is no size that fits all. And instead, a leader should embrace the unknown and view it as an opportunity for growth. For example, no leader had experience navigating a global pandemic, but many embraced the challenge and remained above the water. We did not expect that COVID-19 is coming, but if you would see, most leaders still arise on how they would confront or how they would face the challenges with COVID. Let's say our government, of course, no one expected this to happen. And the government rise above the occasion. The government was able to think of strategies or strategic plan for them to fully know the anatomy of the COVID-19, what are the things that we need to address to help the community or to help our country. So these are you should be aware of these things that we are confronted with. What's the importance of VUCA leadership? This framework helps leaders step outside of their comfort zones to explore new mindsets, ideas, and operating systems. This framework helps leaders shift their mindset so they can begin to embrace different possibilities or outcomes as opposed to relying on familiarity or set outcomes. There are various industries that are confronted with different challenges. It could mean that many people believe that volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity will become more and more prevalent in the business world. We are here to expect more. We are here to think that more and more advancement, more and more innovation would come our way as the years go by. Let's admit it that in 2023, we have yet to experience other things that may come in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years. And this is going to be a surprise, right? This is going to be a surprise that there may be different changes, different innovations and advancement that we would encounter. And as a VUCA leader, we should be prepared. It is important for leaders to understand how to manage the teams through challenges. You know, our people also count on us as leaders, and even our customers or other stakeholders as well. Hence, this is one of the greatest importance of learning VUCA leadership. And the next is, what are the 7 skills for VUCA leadership? What are the things that we should possess for us to be an effective leader in the VUCA economy, in an economy that is volatile, that is uncertain, that is complex, and that is ambiguous? Number 1 is decision making. Number
All right, apologies. I guess that is, yeah, I guess doctor is having a slight challenge over there. So he's going to be back anytime soon, I believe.
Maybe we can take some questions.
Yes, let's take some questions while it. So I think I saw one question at a time. I wanted to reserve that question to the panel session where Olubusola Abiodun can actually do justice to that person. I'm even looking for the person. Please, you can see it. Just I think he's saying.
Is it the one by Dr. There's one by Dr. Guyemi. What role should HR managers play in ensuring that Nigeria has appropriate labor profile for the present and future challenges?
Okay.
Is it that one?
That was the first one that says, what are the practical skills to break silos, something like that, like silos in the workplace. There was a period, there was a time rather, you mentioned people not holding information. Okay, action steps to break down silos. Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's question first.
Have you seen that? Okay,
yes,
okay, but Nkiru said action steps to break down silos. Yes. Yeah. In order to break down silos, okay, I'm coming just a bit. All right. Nkiru asked that question. What are the action steps to break down silos, please? You know, silos and departmental boundaries are usually those things that make the workforce feel ostracized. And so you need to break it down by encouraging cross-functional collaboration amongst all the departments. How can you do this? During management meetings, to ensure that every head of department or head of unit, they must give reports. At every management meeting, we have them. We have people that want to audit. It's my department's assignment. It's as if they're hiding, and it's meant for the entire office. So that mindset is broken down, and during management meetings, before the leadership or the principal of the agency, they must give departmental reports and progress reports. That way, every departmental head will know what is going on. And then in the public sector, what is done every week, all the activities of every department. All the letters they wrote out, that they dispatched, all the letters that came in, all the action points are passed around all the departments, all the directors, and everybody will look at it, study it, and sign on the folio. Okay, and you sign that you okay that you read it, and then you sign. So you can never come out someday to say, I don't know what finance and accounts are doing. I don't know what establishment departments are doing. They will bring out that movement register to see that you actually sign. So we must ensure that collaboration is the key step. You must share information and encourage opportunities for cross teams to interact. That is the duty of the leader in any organization. There must be cross-team collaboration. People must interact and they must tell the organization, all the HODs, what is going on. It's like going to the House of Assembly during budget. You'd come back to say, these were the things we were asked, these were the things we were told to do, these were the areas that they gave us thumbs down and the areas they gave us thumbs up. So you must break silos and ensure that people collaborate and inform every other person. I hope that is so. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, I think Michael has come in.
Yes, it's back now.
Yes.
Let me just quickly add something to that before Dr. Michael takes over. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on this, as I said, doctor. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so another way to actually manage this also is by having SOP, standard operating procedure. That is a template to develop and ensure that each roles are documented, right? Like each job tasks are documented step by step on how they do that, so that in case anything happens, work we progress. So standard operating procedure, a template that you design, and you have each department, each role, if possible, have it populated and submitted. That we also work. So if you have any other thing that you have in mind or you want to share the audience to this question, please, you can drop it in the chat room as we progress with the presentation by Dr. Michael. Is it still here? I think he has gone out again. Okay, he's here. Dr. Michael, you are welcome. Please, can you make Dr. Michael a co-host?
Yep, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome back.
Extremely sorry, there was a power interruption.
Yeah, it's okay.
Really sorry for.
No problem. Apologies accepted.
All right, so my audio clear now?
We can hear you.
Yep. Okay, great. Please let me know if you cannot hear me. The internet was also down when there was an interruption, but I hope that I hope I would be able to finish this. Yep. Yeah. Before my connection was cut off, I was discussing about decision making, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that my screen is visible as well to everyone.
Yeah.
All right. So like what I have mentioned, some decisions may be simple or implicated. This is an iteration for all of us that we should be the systematic approach, so that we would know that our decision would positively impact our people and of course our organization. Second is collaboration. No one can do everything alone. This is especially true for leaders who are navigating through volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous time. And navigating into unfamiliar seas makes it more important for us to work together, to get support from your peers, or collaborate with your teammates. Collaboration would make it easier for us to succeed in the VUCA economy, especially when if we are a leader. Collaboration leads to heightened level, number of innovation, more efficient processes, increased processes or increased success, and improved communication. Again, collaboration is very important. No man is an island, and it is definitely a must that we collaborate with individuals as we go with the quest of leading people in VUCA economy. Number 3 is adaptability. It is non-negotiable when it comes to practicing VUCA leadership. To define, adaptability comes down to being able to rapidly learn new skills and behaviors in response to changing circumstances, which is a must when navigating the VUCA challenges. Adaptability is about being able to arise into situations. We are able to embrace new challenges and thrive into changing environments. Being adaptable by practicing VUCA leadership means working without boundaries and being open to unexplored solution to problems and challenges. And being adaptable is that we are able to adjust. We are able to adjust our focal point. We are able to adjust our focus if some things are urgent or some things are important. Number 4 is organization. I'm sorry, if in the meantime, I would try to turn off my camera just for me to ensure that my audio would be clear on your end while I'm still waiting for the connection to get fixed. All right, so number 4 is organization. Being organized is extremely important. Failing to remain organized will often lead to chaos and increased levels of stress within your team. And when employees should be focused on collaborating and navigating uncertain times, they will instead be focused on trying to piece things together and make sense of their surroundings. That's why being organized is that as a team leader, you gather the ideas, you help your people to get on board. That is being organized. Because, when people are trying to brainstorm, when people are thinking of new ideas, most of the time, their ideas are just laid out. If you would encourage people to think, if you would encourage for people to think of strategies, most of the time, they would try to always look at the ways on how they could organize their ideas. And as a leader, you are the one who should create a clear path for your team to go forward. And as our keynote speaker mentioned, we must remove any barrier. And remove any barriers that we are able to make our work easier, and at the same time, it's going to be with determination. And the increased level of organization would also transcend to the ripple effect of improving the communication between you and your teammates. Hence, if there is good communication between you and your teammates, we could also expect that our productivity would increase as we navigate through the challenges together. And number 5 is customer-centric. Customer-centric leaders focus on customer quality and care and strive to create better outcomes for all customers. My 4-year experience in the customer service industry has actually helped me to think of putting the customer in the center of everything that we do. As a leader in the VUCA economy, as we go with the customer-centric goal, as we go with the customer-centric mindset, we create, let's say, retention strategies while we are striving to improve the customer experiences at every touch point of the customer service. And being customer-centric while practicing VUCA leadership requires an in-depth understanding of decision-making paths. Let's say knowledge of how you are going to remove the barrier between your customers and your organization. And at the same time, how do we understand the needs of our customers? Remember that Our customers may have different mindset. They may pose different needs. They would have different opinions. They would have different experience and different feedback. But at the end of the day, as we put the customers at the center of everything that we do, it would result to customer satisfaction, customer delight, even customer loyalty, and ultimately customer relationship. Number 6 is self-awareness. Self-awareness is an important trait that every successful leader has. By understanding your values, your emotions, your triggers, strengths, and weaknesses, you are able to better understand how these factors affect your performance as well as your decision-making process. Practicing leadership again in this type of economy, it means operating in the edge of uncertainty or unfamiliar territories. Or we are always exposed to some things that we do not know. And making decisions in this climate can be very difficult. And one thing for us to be a successful leader is we have to be self-aware. We have to be fully present. We should know as a leader what are our strengths, our weaknesses, what are the things that we are very good at, and things that we may not be good, but we are willing to flourish and to get trained. And as a leader, we should also know what are the things that we could take as an opportunity for improvement. And we could always utilize our teammates, our team, to work together as we go with our strengths and weaknesses. Our team is also there to help us and to support each other. And last one for the skills in the VUCA leadership is clear vision. Having the ability to define a clear vision, or what we call North Star, when leading teams through volatile, uncertain, complex, or ambiguous times is extremely important. Your North Star is your vision. Your vision is your aspiration. How do you see things? How do you see yourself? How do you see your organization 5 years from now? Or 10 years from now? It could be short-term, it could be intermediate, it could be long-term. But these are your visions. These are the things that you would like to achieve in the future. And it would be our guiding path if we know what our vision is. Especially if we have entrepreneurs here, if we are establishing business, right? One of the first things that we do is to write our philosophy, our vision, our mission, goals, and objectives. And our North Star or our vision would guide us, especially that when there is no goal or when there is no end goal in sight, your teammates or our organization, our teams may not feel motivated and engaged enough to work through whatever challenges that we experience. And vision could also be a guiding light for our team, for us to navigate your turbulent times while we provide the rest of the organization with motivation and guidance. And it would only be possible through the effectiveness of your leadership. Clearly defining vision will create a sense of energy and enthusiasm, which is especially important in an ever-changing environment. As long as we know, as we are focused on our goal, as we are focused on our aspiration, a shared vision would create a sense of unity among the team members and serve as a constant reminder that there are better times ahead in whatever volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity that we may encounter. So those are the 7 skills for VUCA leadership. Now, I have here some of how to improve your leadership skills, general tips for everyone, regardless of what you belong to, regardless if you are just an aspiring leader right now, or if you are a current leader, you are a new leader, or you are someone who is a highly experienced leader. This is for everyone. Number 1 is taking the initiative. Step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself to improve. Or many bosses or many leaders assign employees to the things that they only do or they only know. It actually defeats the purpose of putting your customers, or I'm sorry, putting your employees or your people outside their comfort zone. So if you're, let's say, if your team members or if your team members would like to be exposed to different things that are outside the things that they do, always encourage them to take the initiative. Focus on learning competencies that fall outside the primary knowledge area. Remember, more learnings start outside our comfort zone. Number 2 is think critically. Good leaders can foresee potential problems before they happen. They can also develop ways to prevent problems from happening. If we will realize these two fall into the VUCA economy that we discussed earlier as we integrate VUCA in the definition of leadership. As a good leader, we see the possible problems, we take advantage of the benefit and the challenge of these problems as we address them. It's about being proactive in addressing these problems immediately. Number 3 is listen effectively. Without listening skills, you are not able to get feedback from others and get a sense of what team members like about the projects they work on. Remember, communication skills are one of the essential skills that we need in any industry. We call them soft skills, but for me, I called it essential skill. Communication skill is an essential skill. And communication skill is very critical to being an effective leader, whether it's presenting in front of the team, creating or writing a business strategy, or communicating to employees, to clients, to suppliers, or any stakeholders. One of the most important communication skills for a leader is to listen. Remember, without listening, we are not able to respond effectively. We should be an active listener. Why? Because some of the people are listening for the intention to respond. But as a leader, we listen for the intention to understand. That's how a good leader is. Number 4 is motivate others. A true leader should positively influence people. At the end of the day, leadership is about influence. When employees, your coworkers, your team members, your teammates lose their ambitions and passion, a true leader should be able to energize and motivate them. I understand that motivation may be an intrinsic fire that burns from within a person, but as a leader, we should know how can we motivate people with the resources that we have. Number 5 is be disciplined. Discipline is required in order to execute a goal. Regardless of whatever skill level that you have, regardless of how great your credentials are, if you do not have discipline, you cannot succeed. Even if you have a vision, even if you have if you have a very good idea, without discipline, it would be useless. If you want to execute effectively, every one of us should follow the rules, should be highly disciplined, and should respect one another. And then 6 is continued learning. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. That's according to John F. Kennedy. When things are changing rapidly, it is important to constantly learn and challenge yourself. As a leader, we continuously learn. There are various training and developmental sites as well that we could browse for us to learn. Learning is key for us to be successful. It would give us a lot of viewpoints, a lot of things to gather in making our mindset much more concrete. Excuse me. And the number 7 is know how to delegate. According to Theodore Roosevelt, the best executive is the one who has sense enough to pick good men to do what he wants done and self-restraint to keep from meddling with them while they do it. Remember, If you're a leader here now, a successful leader should not micromanage. We must empower our people. Delegate work to your employees and let them feel that you trust them, that you value them. And if you do this, they would feel more involved, and they would also feel that they have more opportunities to develop new skills. As we delegate to them, we are sending the message across that we value, that we trust them, that we count on their competencies as our team member. And number 8 is handle conflicts. Leaders to know how to handle difficult people and resolve conflict. And then if an employee doesn't work to the best of their ability, or a person may bring a lot of negative attitude to work, leaders need to step up and talk to the person involved. Most of the time, leaders need to be honest and straightforward. But still, we must be professional, although we are being honest or straightforward. And it takes a lot of courage to be honest and straightforward to the people that you are working with, right? We may think that if I would be very honest to this person may be demotivated. If I would be very straightforward, this person may bring a negative energy to the team. But as a leader, we should know how to approach these types of adversities inside our team. Although, again, it takes a lot of courage for us to be honest and straightforward. It may not easy to point out problem or fire someone, but remember to always listen to the employee side of the story before you take conclusion, or you take action, or you make a decision. So it would always go with a two-way communication as well. And lastly would be empower your team. Leaders should learn to recognize the value of team members, learn from them, and encourage other team members to learn from them. One of the very good examples here is to delegate. Delegating is about empowerment, or leaders should learn to recognize the value of your team members through recognizing them. It's not always about the monetary rewards. Most of the time, non-monetary rewards make an impact. What are those? These are recognitions. These are achievements. Remember that if you praise or you recognize people in front of everybody, it goes back tenfold. People feel more motivated, they feel more valued, and they feel more happy and satisfied within the organization. Let us praise people in front of other people, so that we could also let them feel that they are valued, that we recognize their efforts, so that they would also be involved or highly involved in any strategies as we confront the VUCA economy. And great leadership skills are essential to career development, right? If someone here or people here aspire to be a leader in the future, remember that good leadership skills is very essential to career development. If you want to improve your leadership skills, think about the ways to be more influential in a way that we are acquiring skills, in a way that we are acquiring more competencies, in a way that we are learning more and more, even outside our comfort zone. And become an effective VUCA leader, the first would be to do a self-assessment of how ready you are to lead through uncertainty, to identify the gaps and determine how you need to learn and practice. Remember, self-assessment makes you fully present. I mentioned this earlier, knowing your strengths and weaknesses would also help you to become a better leader. It's being aware of the things that we do best and knowing the things that we may not do best, that we may need support. As a good leader, it is okay to accept that we have these weaknesses, but it is also enlightening and nurturing that we are finding ways on how we can address our weaknesses. As then again, our environment is ever changing, rapidly developing. We are exposed to a lot of changes, a lot of innovations, a lot of things that we may not know. There are things that are more to come which may surprise us. But as a leader, let us be much more predictive and prescriptive, deal with a lot of people, value relationship, and at the same time, learn how to influence people in a way that you also inspire them to be leaders of the future in the VUCA economy. To my final words and for my presentation, to lead, you must first win minds. A good deal of leadership in the winning of victories has to do with your ability to win the minds of the people around you. And with that, thank you so much for listening, and I highly appreciate your patience on the earlier technical difficulty. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Thank you so much for that extensive presentation on the topic. We truly appreciate, and trust me, we do not expect less from you, because we know that this is where your passion lies. And we truly do appreciate you for honoring our invitation. And I do believe that audience truly do appreciate this. Please, can we show Dr. Rodriguez some love? Thank you. All right, so I don't know, do we have our third guest speaker now? Please, admin, can you make Precious co-host if she's there now? Please, can you drop your questions for Dr. Michael as we take them together after this last presentation? And if our guest speaker is not here, we can just take a few as we wait for her.
Hi, Temitope.
Okay,
Apologies
interesting.
for not coming.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. So I'm going to be reading your profile just now. All right. Okay, here we go. Precious Imunwahen Ajonum is the pioneer director general of the John Odige Oyegun Public Service Academy, JOSPA, Edo State, Nigeria. She was appointed to drive the institutionalization of the academy in line with global standards. Her vision is to make the academy a leading learning hub for civil and public servants in Africa. Some of our accomplishments as Director General include spearheading the process that resulted in the enactment of the JOSPA law, training over 5,000 civil and public servants, and forging strategic partnership with renowned international organizations like Cisco, HP, and Nextford University. Okay, these initiatives were, among other things, aimed at enhancing human capital optimization and engendering service-wide cost reduction. Pardon me. Precious was formerly the head of youth engagement and learning at Jobberman Nigeria, where she led the program implementation effort of the $25 million MasterCard Foundation Young Nigeria Works project, which aimed at upskilling 5 million young people and placed 3 million of them in dignified work in 5 years between 2020 to 2024. She is also a curriculum design expert, development knowledge facilitator, and creator of the globally acclaimed Jobberman Soft Skills curriculum available on Coursera and other learning management platforms. Precious is an experienced change management consultant who hand organization insight from working with a broad variety of highly specialized work cultures and professions, both nationally and internationally. She has led training sessions and intervention across Africa, specifically in Angola, Ghana, Chad, Kenya, South Africa, and Benin Republic. For multinationals such as Roam, owners of Development Nigeria, ExxonMobil, Unilever, Nestle, and Essilor, to name a few. She specializes in helping individuals and organizations navigate disruptive culture change and improve their soft skills and business processes to achieve their long-term goals. She's comfortable at all levels for all business, having worked as a senior executive consultant for more than 15 years. Precious has a proven track record of leading large-scale development projects and gender initiatives. Our toolbox includes change management, curating soft skills, diversity and inclusion training programs, and executive coaching. She creates instructional design and pedagogical approaches to mainstream gender issues, increasing the participation of women, girls, youths, and other excluded vulnerable groups. She focuses on needs-based intervention training programs using agile methodologies and evaluation frameworks. She earned a distinction in management, innovation, and change from University of Aberdeen, Scotland, United Kingdom. She also received a bachelor's degree in economics from Madonna University, Okija, Nigeria. She also has a postgraduate diploma in marketing from Chartered Institute of Marketing, United Kingdom, a marketing certification from the London School of Economics and Political Science, a neuro-linguistic programming certification from IMI Consulting, British Council World Bank Development Knowledge Facilitator certification, as well as a wide variety of leadership and communication certifications. In her free time, she mentors women, girls, and youth, and young people in general through a social initiative called the Thinking School, where she challenges this group to adopt cathedral thinking and expand frontiers by harnessing the inexhaustible power of their innate potential. With love and clap and standing ovation and your favorite emoji, please make welcome my very good friend, my colleague, my former colleague, and you're still my colleague in the, in the profession. Make welcome, Precious Ajono.
Thank you for having me. I'm super thrilled to be here. I'm a mom, so I meant to my children that I couldn't get out of. But I'm just going to go straight into it for having me. It's an honor. My name is Imoahe Ajono, and Director General at the John Odigie Oyegu Public Service Academy. I'm not going to bore you. That was a very thank you. And I want to talk about the role of HR in public sector. I'm one of the people who left the private sector to join public sector. It's been a very exciting learning journey for me. Really happy to. I was talking to someone earlier today and I said, career-wise, I think this is the biggest leap of that I've ever made, and it has come bearing fruits. All right, so I'm just going to I think on the next slide, I have a quote. Thank you. Thank you. On the next slide, there's a quote from Winston about change. I don't know who's helping. Yes, the previous one. So when you talk about embarking on change, but it's fine. Just the one before this. Yes. Yeah. Aha. So that if we're embarking on a journey of transformation, is to the need for progress and all of that, and change being a focus on what Churchill says. He says to improve is to change, and to be often. As someone who studied change, I think in some ways new on the surface that's coming into the public sector. We would need to change things, use technology, HR processes, culture. I think I didn't quite understand until I had come in how much of change, how much resistance also, whatever your transformation agenda would be, face if you are like me also thinking to venture into at least the Nigerian public. I don't know how many people saw what Humayi, in Nigeria tried to do and how he was made to apologize, but let me not digress. So transformation in the core sense of the word means to change. And just to qualify it, it means to change for progress, because there are all sorts of different changes. And there are two broad types of change. There's incremental change that would typically happen. Disruptive change. An example of disruptive change will be the internet, for example. Came and it changed our entire paradigm, right? We're used to doing things a certain way, and it was when the internet happened that you could sit in Nigeria, for example, and be on a Yahoo chat at that time, somebody in England or wherever else. So the internet was disruptive, and thanks to the we have all sorts of different businesses that have emerged. But beyond disruptive, maybe happen once in a generation, or just not so often. We change. So, for example, process changes, changes around operations, moving from analog, for example, like to digital operations, and then just moving, getting better at 1% every. Could be incremental, but they also have almost, if you like, the same kind of long term. And I will talk a little bit of, I'll talk a little bit about the. On to the next one. Okay. All right. In our context, right, our public sector plays a vital role. I like us to think about the public sector as the engine of government, and this is what government should exist as an enabler. Before I came in, the assumption was the problems we have in Nigeria are caused by our political. I didn't understand the personnel issues that we also had. But coming in, when you think about, political transitions, 4 years, maximum 8 years, and then that particular, and then another regime comes, and another government, no regime, but factor, if you like, there are people who remain, who will have long careers, doing different things, and that's the bureaucracy, right? The civil and public. In a lot of ways, they remain. And I can tell you for free, as someone who is an insider, who will educate you in terms of how to do corruption, will not be the political or even the technocrats coming from outside. It will be the system, our bureaucrats. They'll be the ones to tell you, in this memo, you should add this, in that memo, you should add that, and all of that. If we don't fix the engine, if we don't fix the personnel, people who work for government, then whatever changes that we will have will be cosmetic. There's a way the system runs, and as dysfunctional, if you like, as our system, there's corruption has a system in terms of how it operates, and enablers that. And if we don't fix that engine, if we don't fix the civil and public service, we're never to get to that destination that we're all clamoring for, even if we had a messiah sitting at the helms of affairs in Aso Rock in Nigeria. So our public is a vital role in our national development and our progress, and for us to ensure it's fit for purpose. I don't know how many of us were around in 2000. I would imagine such a thing called COVID-19. It happened, it came upon us, and all of a sudden, even governments in Nigeria to technology, right? So we had things like working from home, using such a thing called Zoom, now. So we had to very quickly learn, and it also revealed how that we had in terms of how our issues were managed. There's all sorts of reports of things, just government business that was not attended to on time, just use technology. And then that also threw up a very big HR opportunity, at least in Edo. We recognize that there are gaps. We still have people who work for us who might have not heard of Google, especially when you start to go to different local governments and things like that. So one of the headaches, or one of the things that keep me up at night, democratize this access to learning that we have in Benin City, for example, across all governments, making sure that what they know, the people who work for us at the city center, they all village in Ugoneki. So to ensure that the civil and public service is effective, we must embrace change and transformation. And I've used the word must, but I'm to, and again, this is debatable. We can talk about this if we have some time later, whether the change and transformation is a must, or should we just remain as we are? Next slide. Okay. All right. So the government as takes care of different parts of society, whether it be healthcare, whether policies around infrastructure, education, and ideally all things be an enabler of growth. I mean, picture a nation where we have electricity. Government is able to provide security for its citizens. A nation where, like we're trying to do in Edo, there's fiber optics across all local government, encourage the tech industry, just government functioning as it should. Imagine what happen in a country like that. So government ideally should be the bedrock. We should be able to support our citizens and find resources. And then something else, again, another question maybe we might talk about hydrogen government. I felt like the biggest issue was the bureaucracy. Because you have bureaucracy, if you like, I thought that was largely the problem. But now, public servant myself, I have begun to also appreciate the bureaucracy. It's because of this that ensures that things are quote unquote transparent, and then somebody outside. So I'll give an example. Before the JUPSA law was signed, even though I was the man, I'm now called Director General, I could not sign I could not append my signature at the bank to get anything out because we're not signed. And because again, processes as opposed to, and again, those processes exist where I had thought about it just to be difficult, but to protect the institution. Do we have a problem with our bureaucracy, or do we have a problem with how we run the system? I'm going to leave that open. I don't have all the answers, but perhaps somebody might be thinking about that. So government, in essence, again, by way of should exist as an enabler of progress, and operate as an abstract construct, right? There are people like you and I work for government. So where is the place in this mix for proper HR processes, guidelines, structure? Perhaps we might just find out. Next slide. Okay. All right. So what is public service transformation? Like I alluded to Churchill, transformation is about change. I've talked about in two key forms, either is disruptive or is incremental. And public service transformation could signify a complete and whole of the business process or how it does, things around the structure and things around those are the three key buckets. But my question now becomes, not question, something I'm learning in terms as someone who leads transformation in the public services, what is the best approach? If you listen to Kotter, he has the 8 steps. Look at Lewin, there's the freeze and unfreeze. There are different change management models depending on. But if you were to, like me, to be appointed as some personnel to drive transformation in the public sector, what approach should you take? What doesn't? And I can say from evidence that one of the key things that can, when it comes to public service transformation, is making sure that you have stakeholder buy-in from the top. So it's a little bit easier for me the commitment of the political class, the governor of the state, saying, look at the civil service around, and why are we doing it? And we're changing things because we continue as we are. If you're Nigerian and if you're following all the pressures that we have, you will know that we're going through very difficult times. The way the liberalism works, or the way the Nigerian model works, is it's almost like one big brother sharing money with siblings, right? All states hook up to the center in Abuja, and then we share funds. Problem with the FAC allocations, and I'm sure many of us saw, I don't know if the labor strike is tomorrow, but we're all feeling the pinch and we're seeing the bites that are happening in the country. Model of sharing FAC based on oil revenues is not working. It's not working. Moving away from oil, Nigeria is struggling. It means that unlike in the time where we had more than enough, we didn't know, Nigeria had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. We don't anymore, right? The size of our balance sheet, quote and unquote, is not even enough to move the needle. Called Elon Musk, somewhere else in the world, who is doing so much more than we are doing as a 200 million people. So therein lies the difficulty. Subnationals now think outside of the box to say, you know what, how do we increase revenue? So we're inflations are up. Governments are thinking about, okay, perhaps more taxes. But here's, unlike in Canada or in the US, where, folks, I don't know if there's anywhere where people are happy to pay, stretch it, it's arguable, but you pay because you know that you're going to get something. But bring it back to Nigeria, we have a people who do not see enabler. In fact, we see government as some exist to erode progress, if you like. So now going back to these same people benefit from government, quote and unquote, and saying that you're going to raise their tax, for them to happily pay would be a very difficult thing. So it now means that even me defining why public service transformation is relevant and very, very. So even government no longer can operate as it does because the not there. It's not coming from the center. What comes from the center now is barely enough to pay salary and of course accommodate the large appetite of our political class, right? And I have to go there, so it's not working. So it means that we now need to think how government runs in Nigeria if we are going to even continue to survive, or if we're going to have states or subnationals who will survive another 10, 20 years. So the question now is, government is supposed to operate as a service. Government is not necessarily a profit-making venture, like in the private sector where some of us came from. Government needs to be able to fund the business of government. So what gives? Silent mentality within governments, people who work for government, and I don't know if you've heard this, right? You're not supposed to be so passionate about government work, right? You're not even supposed to show up at work and then they get a salary. But the challenge now is the fact are not coming as it should. So if we don't do something urgently, then I'm not going to be able to pay salaries for the government workers, and then we'll probably just grind government. Nobody is the better off. So you find that understanding this problem, even when you talk to them, they can tell you for free that something has to give, but people are not quite sure what needs. moving on, let's go to the next slide. So there's so many different challenges, facing HR in public service. And then some of them are around personnel issues, things for salaries. I recall when I first joined and when I was pitching, us having an employee value proposition to the governor. One of the things that and I would say it here, I don't know if it's being recorded, is even if you were to bring a Catholic and pay him some of the wages that we pay our workers here, he might just in the Onija, because when you pay somebody 40,000 naira a month, less than $100, and then that same person needs to sign contracts that are worth of naira to contractors, it's going to take a certain kind of mindset that in Nigeria for the person not to say, you know what, come back and give me a kickback. So the challenge transformative processes, and I think in the next slide I'll just talk about some of the personnel challenges, please. Yeah. The biggest things that you would see, and I try to paint a picture. Public service will be a big resistance to change, and it's not necessarily hard to learn through engagements, workshops, but you will learn more about just engage them during lunchtime than any workshop that you would attend. So then around not trusting the technocratic class, like they like to call some of us, or even so yes, you are coming to say you want to change us, but do you understand the nuances, issues? So number one, the public sector is very unattractive as an employer of labor. There are very few people who wake up, especially talents in Nigeria, say, you know what, I want to go in the public service, especially not at my level, but at the DG level, think, okay, I want to give back. But if you're just starting your career, you need to pay bills, you need to take care of your family, feed. They're not thinking of the public sector because they don't pay, very well. And then deal with a governor telling you, for example, or your president telling you that they're not able to pay salaries for whatever reason. So talent is happier to some of the organizations that my friends on this call represent than coming to the public service. Then the kind of person who now finally decides that they want to come to the public service, they couldn't get jobs anywhere, right? Or they have made up their mind that so that I can, use corruption to advance, right? So you are not necessarily crop of people either ways because your employee value proposition is very weak. There is a culture that is prevalent in our public service, and I can just share the things that I saw. Things around very poor work ethic, having, workers that are not quite skilled for the position that they have to fill. And what's also doubly tragic is they also like their equilibrium. They like it. So you coming now to say you want to do any transformation work, the order of things will be met with huge resistance. Resistance are evil, like I've come to find, because I will talk about that later. Kept us going at JUPSA, my own public service organization, are also the civil servants who are saying that must continue. But resistance because of a lack of understanding of what this proposing is going to mean for them. What is in it for me if I'm going to transformation process that you are proposing? All right, so that's the first thing, dealing with. Next slide, we'll talk about the second one. Yeah. So public service institutions also suffer from inertia, hindering swift transformation. So there's a way things are done. In fact, I had to very quickly, when I'm talking to my staff, I put agile in front of their name, do reframing. So agile Temitope, agile Michael, agile, agile this, agile that, just to imply and get it to their consciousness that is as usual. In this organization, we do things differently. In fact, the public give you, the longer the time it takes to resolve your matter, we are Nigerians, so you know, more frustrated the user on the other side is, and the more willing you money should you want it to be shortened. So they are happy to tell you that that file on it for the past 3 months, or that whatever, I've been working on it for the past 4 months. And when you know, it's a bureaucracy. Sometimes I remember when I started to get some understanding of the memo business, you send a memo to the other person in the other room, and send you another memo to tell you that the memo should have been sent to somebody else. Then now walk into your office and tell you, but it's not going to happen here. And then before you know, almost 20 memos have gone. Matter has not been solved. So again, you must also, this is what people are used to. Some people have worked 20 years like this, following this procedure to say, I want to change how you do it. And something that will take 3 months can happen in 24 hours. That could be met with huge resistance. All right, moving on. Yeah. So when it comes to transformation, and that's why, again, stakeholder engagement is supremely fear of the unknown. I remember when we first came, they had given us all sorts of names, people, their jobs. If I'm not able to communicate, who had schooled in England, what would it mean for my job? Oh, I can't use. So you will find that even though I was going to lead a training institution, and then you're sending out surveys for people to do, you know, skills gap assessment, people are not telling you the truth. You find somebody saying they can use computers even when they cannot, because the fear is, oh, they want to, there's a rumor out there, the governor wants to sack everybody that cannot use a computer. So, let's not tell them that this is the true picture so that they don't remove us. So there's all sorts of things around that, job security. And then, of course, adapting to new technologies. Even when you work in the private sector, you do know that if there are new technologies, there needs to be a learning period before people adapt. So there's also that. So there's a lot of fear of the unknown. And then when I start to talk about some of the antidotes for fear, I will now talk about how important it is to engage our stakeholders, making sure that there's the human element and people know that I'm not coming here to take your job, but I'm actually here to support you so that we can do the thing that government wants to do. And it's the reason why when I was thinking about the vision of our institution, what worked was we're strengthening the public service institution through capacity building. So we exist for institutional strengthening and not necessarily to get you out of your job. In fact, if JUPSA does its job well, we should Edo State because we're doing our job well, not, you know, not the other way around. So, but yes, and technology can be terrifying, quite frankly. If you've worked all your life never having used computers, and then all of a sudden, you know, there are computers in front of you, you're used to writing notes, and people are saying, no, you need to go on this software, you need to go on that. For those of us who were early adapters and who have been using computers for maybe 20 years, etc., you almost forget that initially it was something that was terrifying. So fast forward, the median age of the public servants in Edo and most of the public service in Nigeria is at least 40 years old. So imagine having to learn how to use you know, computers at age 40. It can be, you know, widely, vaguely terrifying. All right, moving on. All right, so there's of course the skill and competency gap. So for us, before we started, we had to do, you know, a statewide competency gap assessment with our partners and all of that, just to see where we had gaps and what were the things we needed to focus on, especially in terms of starting the school. There's so many things that we could have done, but where should we put our focus? And it was very telling in terms of the things that we saw. We saw that some people didn't even understand what government was about. I don't know how many Nigerians, when they want to interact with government, are excited. So for example, they tell you, oh, the police is calling you, or the social government is calling you, and you're like, oh, wow, I'm happy to go there today. Says no Nigerian ever, actually. Because again, you know, you are almost certain that you're not going to get the kind of service that you deserve. And this is as a result of many skills and competency. There's a course that we run called Government as a Service. And I typically like to start by asking, how many people believe government is a service? And you'll be shocked that no hand comes up on the first day, because everybody's looking at you. Government is supposed to be a powerful, fearful thing. And that's the mentality over the years, as opposed to being a service, which is the thing that it actually is. So addressing the skills gap within, you know, government, within the public sector, is very important. First, to even close foundational gaps, like we call it, and then, of course, meet the demands of modernization, and especially in the post-COVID era. Okay, moving on. And then, of course, there are resource constraints, and I alluded to that earlier when I talked about FAC ETC. You know, it's hard for Nigerians to believe that we are a broke country, quote unquote, at the moment. Yes, we can talk about our natural resources and, you know, pontificate on Malaysia came here to get their first oil palms, XYZ. But you see, as someone who studied economics, and maybe some of us on this call, you know, basic economics is production and, you know, exports, imports, and all that kind of stuff. So if we're not producing enough to take care of our own needs, it just makes sense that we will see the kind of inflationary pressures that we're seeing. So government is also taking the hit. We have limited budgets and resources, and this can impede HR's ability to implement some transformation activities. There's so many things that we want to do. When I joined, and we were just crafting what we called our change master plan, there are all sorts of things that we have there. But when we started to cost our strategy plan, ETC, it became, you know, the question now became, how do we fund the plan? How do we fund transformation? How do we fund, so for example, we have digital transformation as part of the work that we're doing. We have a workforce of over 38,000 people. We'll only be able to provide laptops for, say, 5,000. It would be nice to give everybody a laptop, but, you know, where's government going to find that money, for example? So there are also, that's just an example, but there are all sorts of different things, and there are resource constraints, and then now means again, and resource constraints also means that government now has to be thinking about alternative sources. So how do we fund government beyond FAC? And then if you say taxes, how many Nigerians are going to happily pay taxes? And if you must force everybody to pay, what if people just get tired and say, you know what, I'm not even going to work because government is coming to take my taxes? What then do you do? So yes, there are resource constraints that also impede HR's ability to follow through. All right, moving on. Okay, so the big thing in government or in the public sector is resistance to change. If you attempt to change anything, and I'm happy to engage anyone else who's doing what I'm doing, they will resist you. I guarantee you that. So what do? Do you quit, go back to Lagos, or do you continue to push through? Well, I chose the second option. So our HR professionals must employ proven techniques to manage resistance and guide the public sector towards transformation. And like I like to say, you need to sell your vision, and you need to sell it well. You need to sell it with clarity. You need to sell it consistently, and people need, and you need to walk the talk. One of the things that I like about the public sector or people who work here is they will hold you accountable, and they know what a phony is, right? They know when you're not walking the talk. They know when you're all talk and, you know, all back, like they say here, and no bites. And because they are trained a certain way, almost like the military, unlike in the private sector where people are more vocal, and they might not tell you, but they will resist you through their memos. They will resist you through their followership. They just won't follow you. And then you will find that you have so much difficulty, you will be frustrated, and you will leave. And like they like to say, when the next regime comes, not regime, the next dispensation, if you like, they would be sure to let the new kids on the block know that all the things that you worked on didn't make any sense. So there will be policy reversals. There will be policy somersaults, and then we will be back, perhaps even worse than when it was that we started. So we need to come up with, tools to overcome some of the resistance. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that works, and like I say, if you get this one right, you've gotten everything right. So the first thing is effective communication. You need to speak the language of the people that it is that you're talking to. Your communication must be transparent. Must be transparent. You cannot come and tell people that you want to change their system and make it more transparent when you yourself have ulterior motives. So you must be transparent and consistent. So every single time they engage with you, all your stakeholder workshops say the same thing. When you're talking to different stakeholder groups in different languages sometimes, because that's what happens, the way I would speak to the people at the center will be different from talking to the people in our local governments in the interlands. However, the message must be the same, because what you want to do is to build trust around what it is that you're trying to do. All right, moving on. Engaging all relevant parties and addressing their concerns is supremely important. So I'll tell you what we did at JUPSA. I was very lucky. When I joined government, I started in the strategy office. I was working out of the governor's office in the I was leading transformation in the strategy office. I was first appointed as transformation director, but that changed when I planned the strategy retreat with the SA strategy, and then the governor said, look, I need you to come and build this school, this idea that I have. You have all this experience, come and build the school. So I was very lucky to have started from the strategy office, because one of the things I learned was a lot of people just don't believe in whatever transformation agenda that we had at the time. So what I did starting JUPSA was to very quickly form a change coalition made up of all the directors of training across the civil service. So instead of coming to say, oh, look, I studied change in Aberdeen, I know everything, and then bring a nice brochure for them to follow, I called everybody into a room and I said, look, I don't know anything about how you do it around here. I have come from the private sector, so I'm kind of handicapped. I have all these theories, all this change, I have experience working in different markets, but this is very unique. I recognize that. Can you tell me what to do, basically? Some of them laughed, some of them thought it was funny, but when I did that consistently, they became my pillars. So they told me this is how they do it, this is how they feel you should go about the skills gap reports, this is, I've been in surveys, this is what we think will work, this is the person you should look out for, this is the person you shouldn't look out for. They felt like we had brought them to the table. Until tomorrow, I have that interministerial counterpart team that I call them, and I'm evolving them. By next year, they're going to become a community of practice, because within that group, some directors have become permanent secretaries. They're becoming very influential in the service. And these are the people beyond the JUPSA law that will ensure that we continue to exist. So stakeholders management is extremely important. And then, of course, the first one was effective communication. Moving on, please. All right, so it's very, very important that you train your workers. When you've identified what the gaps are, you now need to invest in training them. Like I recall when, some of the early meetings we had with stakeholders where people said, fire this person, fire that person, and then they had all sorts of reasons. But you see, if people have spent 20 years in a system where they were not even onboarded, when they came in, you didn't tell them that you didn't define what your culture was. There were no SOPs, there were no standard operating procedure. It was like the wild, wild west, and they're just existing. I think it's almost unfair to now demand something that you didn't invest in them. Hence, JUPSA. How do we train our workers? How do we equip them with this, the tools that they need, computers, etc., so that they can meet our expectation? And underpinning that is now an effective performance management system, right? So how do we manage performance in such a way that the people who really do well, because when you don't manage performance, and whether I come to work, I don't come to work, it doesn't mean anything. I'm still going to get my salary at the end of the year. I'm a civil, at the end of the month, I beg your pardon. I'm a civil servant, they're still going to pay me. Then there's no incentive for you to be a star. Some of us, one of the things that we loved about the private sector was our bonuses. I mean, I look forward to my quarterly bonus. I work hard so that I get that bonus to go to Dubai, you know, with my family on holiday. But if there's no incentive, then why should I work hard? So it was very important for us to provide training, and, you know, that's why I see. Moving on, please. And then things around, you know, our wages as well. If you could get to the next slide. Okay, so I talked about my institution just a little bit here. But we have a website. You could learn more about us. I don't want to take more than my allotted time. But I like to say that I feel like we're a very good example of what can happen in the public sector if you carry stakeholders along. I'll tell you this, even in terms of getting our law passed, I mean, I remember the former House, they were very invested in it because people had come and done training, and we ensure that we have a faculty that is globally competitive. So we're not bringing, in fact, if you listen to some of the feedback that come after our classes, especially this one we just concluded with Nextford, people have cried at JUPSA. It's crazy. People have said things like they've never experienced anything like this before all their careers. So because we do it well, and the good thing about training is it's something that benefits you. What they say, once your mind is expanded by a new experience, it never goes back to what it used to be. So it's something that they can directly say, oh, they got out of government and things like that. And yeah, so I talked about the interministerial counterpart team, very, very key. In fact, one of our biggest critic when we started, she's moved on now. She's a permanent secretary, and she's now one of the people really pushing our brand within government, saying that this thing must continue. So it's very important to carry stakeholder along, and it's very important that you're also open to receive feedback. Like I say, and I'll say it again, one of our biggest critic when we started, because she had said, look, a lot of things had happened in the past. What makes you different? So every time she asked a question in the validation workshop, instead of us thinking that it's an attack, we went back to the drawing board, we sat down, we looked at our processes again, we came back to her and our core to say, how we're thinking about it, does it make sense now? I remember the first time I brought out the courses that we're going to start with, she said, oh, these are Coursera courses. Well, it's not going to help them. They said, what do you mean by one of them was managing upwards. And she said it's impossible to manage upwards in the service. They don't use that kind of language. You cannot manage your boss here. So I had to go back, keep the content, but change the title to something that they could appreciate. You know, those sort of negotiations are very, very important. So you have to be flexible as the driver of change as well. Moving on, I think I have just a few minutes to go. All right, so I've talked about, yes, gaining buy-in of your stakeholders. You cannot overemphasize that. So we play a very pivotal role, that's HR professionals. And if you are coming from the strategic perspective to HR, where you're not just thinking about it short term. So for example, whilst we have our short and mid-term goals as an institution, we have a plan for the next 10 years. We've acquired property opposite that we're going to expand into for the next 10 years. So even after my tenure is over and I move on to other things, there's already that, you know, that not baseline, but there's already that plan to roadmap is the word I'm looking for. Roadmap for expansion way into the future. All right, moving on. So yeah, clear communication. I have spoken about that before. Make sure that stakeholders understand and then speak their language. You know, we talked about fear, and many times the civil servant is afraid of fear, afraid of losing their job. You know, a new government comes and they want to take them away. And I said this, look, if you are empowered, and that's how we sell, you know, JUPSA, our institution, if you are empowered and all of that, and you are a person of value, I don't see any government that will come in and want to fire you, for example. So you would find there's a course we run on policy. So at the end of that course, you should be able to write policies for your MDAs, that's your ministries, departments, and agencies. Up until 2 a.m. in the night, you have, and I send them to the governor. So the best one, the governor would pick it and, you know, speak with the head of the MDA to implement. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., people are still working on that assignment because now, you know, there is extra incentive. You want the governor to shake your hand. You want him to send you a thank you note. So there's an extra incentive for you to do that. So you need to, yes, communicate effectively. Moving on, please. So you need to ensure that, you know, your people are empowered. This is very, very important. There's a reason why Edo State has the highest minimum wage in the country. Some of us on the transformation end had to convince the governor to say, look, if we're asking more of our people, if we say that we want people working, if we say we want to increase revenues, then we need to treat our people better. If we're saying we want people to be less corrupt, their take-home pay needs to actually take them home. So we were able to get to 40,000. The governor says he's still willing to do some increases if hinged on us increasing our IGR. So if IGR goes up to certain, so we have quarterly targets across all MDAs now. And if our revenue generating MDAs are able to meet, you know, their targets and surpass it, and we find that it's sustainable, is also willing to do that. So also, yes, involving citizens in some of these processes, they help. So for example, when we're launching JUPSA, we worked with the University of Benin community. We got very young people to come in so that our public servants can also see that in terms of how, and then of course, people from the private sector, how we interact as a government. It's not just us that it affects. We have an entire ecosystem in the state. We have citizens who have, quote unquote, put us in office, who our work also, you know, affects. So it's very important, and JUPSA midwives, you know, conversations like that to ensure that there's some sort of handshake between the, you know, the people of Edo or Nigeria, if you like, and the people who work here, and then creating all sorts of incentive. This year, we're going to have for the first time customer service awards within the service, just encouraging the public servants where we get the most feedback from, and then the agencies like that. All right, moving on. I see Temitope's hand is up, so I'm sure that my time is up. Recognition and feedback, I've talked about that.
I'm applauding you for that, you know, workers' appreciation that you're organizing. Well done.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, so that's here, recognition and feedback is really, really important. One of the things that came out of our focus groups in the beginning, when I came, I really wanted to talk to people, talk to the leaders, but also get the perspective of the servants. And I met really very brilliant people who felt underappreciated. So what some of them do is they have other side gigs. Most of the shops around belong to public servants, so they don't come to work. It's not because they are not, it's not because they're not smart or talented, but they just feel underappreciated. So why should I contribute if I'm not getting anything in return? So those are some of the things that we're trying to change, to say, okay, how do we reward? We're currently working with one of our partners, international partners, and hopefully by next year, we want to start some study tours. And to be eligible for those study tours, you have to be somebody who has demonstrated within their organization that you are a person who believes in, you know, transformation, and have come up with transformation initiatives. So we're trying to, you know, put a lot of incentives, reward incentivize the behavior that it is that we want to see in the service. And that we're building a culture of engagement. All right, moving on. Yes, and then it's supremely important to leverage technology to scale what it is that we're doing. So we've announced, I think last month, that we are a paperless government. We are moving very, very strongly, laying fiber optics across all our 18 local governments. In my building, my institution, for example, if you're around here, there is free Wi-Fi. So we have hotspots across the city now where you can have access to internet. And then even JUPSA, in terms of how we run, I remember when we piloted our Zoom classes, some people were very apprehensive, but it's been so well received. We're learning as we go. In the next 5 years, we want to ensure that at least 70% of our classes happen online. Very ambitious, and we see that if we don't meet that, we end up at the average mark, which would be nice, but that's what we want to do, because we will never grow big enough to be able to service our workers across all local governments. And we also want to receive clients from other subnationals. However, through technology like we're doing now, we should be able to reach more people. So even for our next training, we have people who are not necessarily in Benin, that in ECPOMA, in other local governments, they're able to log on with their phones and then access learning. So technology is how we scale. Even managing our payroll, for example, how we manage our payroll, our Oracle systems and all of that. We have something called eGov. It's an enterprise software that was built for Edo State that we use for our leave, for our appraisals, for performance management, for things around memos. So instead of sending physical memos, you send them online. Yes, we are still having a lot of issues with that. But our belief is that if we continue, the good thing about technology is once people are used to it, it's very rare that you find somebody who uses technology well and is saying, oh, I want to go back to analog, which was very stressful. It's very rare. So most times, once you can get people comfortable with using technology, they really want to go back. And what that also does for government is it makes us more transparent. So I'm sending something out. We had days in the service where you will send a file to somebody, they'll say they didn't see it. It has happened to me. But if you send it via email or if you send it on eGov, deniability is low. And the good thing is eGov is monitored. So we have a 48-hour strict files on eGov policy. And if you don't do that, the system will trigger you that you have something left, unseen. And because we do reports and send to the governor, again, nobody wants to be that person that, is falling short. So yes, we're using technology as a catalyst for public service transformation. And there's so many HR initiatives and I'll just tell you a fun one before I move on. So there's something that we're doing with Kahoot, where we want to find out how much people know about some of the change, new initiatives that we've come up with. So go on Kahoot, we send you the link, and then we ask questions, you run through the quiz, and then the person, the top 3 people get prizes. Do that during lunchtime. Just easy things, fun things to keep our employees engaged and things like that. All right. Next slide. Okay. Moving on. All right. So yeah. So we talked about adapting to change and then evolving demand. So one of the things that I say to the service, and I think is one of the honest things that we can always say, is transformation is so dynamic that nobody really on any side, including the developer world, can tell you exactly how our world of work will be in the next 5 years. No, at best we could do guesstimates of what we think can happen, but nobody really knows exactly. So it's very important that our systems are flexible. It's very important that we have a service or a bureaucracy that can be flexible, that can adapt to changes as they happen. Should we have another COVID happens, what are we going to do as a government? Should we have, hopefully no more wars after the Russian-Ukraine one, but who knows where we're headed next year? How does government respond? What kind of policies do we have in place? So those are some of the questions, and that's how we're building, our transformation agenda to make sure that we're agile and that we're able to respond as needed. All right. Moving on. Okay, in conclusion, I thought I was never going to come, but here we are. So in Nigeria, the role of HR in the public service transformation is pivotal. As far as transformation goes, I talked about, digital transformation, but what is most critical, even beyond digital transformation, is the people transformation. Because it's the people that would use, the technology and that would change the systems in terms of how it runs. So it's supremely important. So just as effective as change and transformation management is crucial for businesses, they are also very important for public institutions to meet the diverse and changing needs of citizens, to formulate policies that actually move the needle, to be able to implement those policies, and then to be able to harness the unending power of technology for the progress of our nation. So thank you so much for listening. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Precious. That is awesome. Guys, what do we say to this? I can see someone said It is deep, and this is very, very deep. Thank you so much. I actually truly want you to, share with us your journey in Edo State. Of course, it's in the news. It's no longer new that Edo State is now leading in terms of, achievements and accomplishments that your very presence have brought into that state. And that is the reason why we actually asked that you come share with us how you have been able to do it. And truly, this is inspiring. This is inspiring. Well done. Well done. God bless you. So, for all the state, other state public workers here, now you've had, probably you are in national space or you are not in national space. Let us, join hands to build Nigeria. In fact, being a government worker, you actually the change agent in this country. Without you, this country will not change. Yeah, I said something in my presentation. I said, it's not as if we don't have people who mean well for the country. There are a lot of us mean well for the country. But how many of us? How many of us? So don't get tired. You know how it is when you are like the only person that have. So you start wondering, is something wrong with me? This whole of, there's something called misconception. Misconception is something that when too many people embrace wrong thing or wrong perspective, point where someone with the right perspective is not doubting him or herself. So let's join us together to build this country, and we'll have a lot of results to show for it. Thank you so much. We are going to go for commercial for just 1 minute, and we'll be back. Then we go straight to the panel session where our participants can ask their questions. Please start sending your question or send to admin if you don't want the question out immediately. All right, thank you, Imoef. You are doing great things in Edo State. Well done. Thank you for the very inspiring presentation. Thank you, Noyoze Sagua. Please, admin, can we have the commercial?
Welcome to Texi Consulting, where innovation meets expertise in the world of business solutions. In an ever-evolving landscape, navigating the complexities of today's business challenges requires a trusted partner who understands the intricacies of your industry. That partner is Texi Consulting. With a proven track record of excellence, we pride ourselves on delivering tailored strategies and cutting-edge solutions that drive success. Our team of seasoned experts is dedicated to helping you unlock your full potential, whether you're a startup looking to disrupt the market or an established enterprise aiming to stay ahead. At Texi Consulting, we believe in the power of collaboration, innovation, and forward-thinking strategies. Join us on the journey where your business aspirations become reality and where we pave the way for your success. Thank you for exploring the world of Texi Consulting with us today. As we conclude our journey, remember that your success is not just a destination but a continuous journey. At Texi Consulting, we are not just a consultancy, we are your partners in progress. Our commitment to your success goes beyond this moment. We are here to stand by your side, navigate challenges, and celebrate your victories. So, whether you are just beginning or looking to elevate your business to new heights, know that Texi Consulting will always be your trusted guide. Together, we can forge ahead, innovate, and achieve remarkable milestones. As we bid farewell, Remember that your dreams are our mission and your success is our ultimate destination. Thank you for choosing Texi Consulting. Until next time, keep striving, keep succeeding.
Thank you so much, Admin, for that. Once again, we welcome you all to this edition, HRWTA guest speaker event. This is where we bring our leaders together, and connect individuals to greatness. And I believe that today, for the past almost 3 hours now, a lot of insights has been shared, on how we can all collectively move our country forward. So please, let's continue to share this good news. Let us not give up in Nigeria, and success story will be what we follow this very effort that we are all putting in to ensure that Nigeria is a great place for all of us. So I still have it, Dr. Michael and Precious Ajonu. I want to believe that Mrs. Abisola Olubusola rather, Abidapu is still here, or probably she's no longer here. So we are going to be taking questions. I think we have a few questions here, but I will leave the forum open for anyone who wants to open up this question and answer session. You can just please raise up your hand and unmute your mic. Then let's have your question. Otherwise, we just go straight to reading those questions. If you have any other question, admin, please, you can put them in the group so that we can read it all together. So the first question goes to Dr. Michael. How can a leader deal with conflicts within the team? Practical examples of how leaders can manage conflict within the team. So this speaks to effective conflict management. Dr. Michael, over to you.
Yep, okay. Yeah, so basically as a leader, number one, that is very important is knowing the personality of your people. That's number one thing. Although you handle, let's say, around 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 persons or people in your team, it is a must that you should know their individuality or their individual personality, so that when the conflict arises, you would also know how to approach the scenario or the situation. And another practical example could be, I have experienced this type of conflict in the past when I was working in a customer service as a team leader or a supervisor. And the person or the people involved in the conflict was actually of a different age. One belongs to a different generational cohort, let's say a person who is 50 years old and above, and the other one is just a millennial or like a 20 years old and above. So you could see the differences in their mindset, in their perception, because of the differences in the generation. So as a leader, you should know how to adjust to the situation. It is very important that you know how this particular person would think as an older individual, and you should also know how a millennial would think. And then by that, you would also know how to listen to individuals' perspective, how they see things, or the sides of their story. And then, you just need to hear them out until everything settles. And then after everything settles, I think that's the time that you could talk about it and address them. It's not really good that we go into the peak of the situation and we may have the urge to address everything at the peak of the situation. But I suggest we could always look at how settling things down first. And then that's the time that you could think of ways on how to reconcile. Demi, I think you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Apologies. So this next question, I would also like you to, answer this question. What are the key components of nation building? You are speaking from another country. You are from another country, though it's a global village now, right? So from your experience as a United States of American citizen, I'm sure you also know about the story. You have the story of America, the struggles of America, and how America has, been able to get to where they are today. So what do you say to this country? What are the key components of nation building?
Well, actually, just to set things straight, I'm not currently based in America. I'm actually based in the Philippines now, while I work with Nexford that is based in Washington, D.C. So I could actually speak for the nation building primarily here in the Philippines, because this is, the primary country that I literally grew up. But I always believe that nation building is about making a society peaceful and access to security, food, shelter, and other basic needs. Because, to be extremely honest with every one of you, the Philippines has a very chaotic political landscape right now. Specifically that there are some issues about the funding in the government, and even disunity on the political parties. So I think number one thing for nation building is really about how the government would prioritize these things like security, food, and shelter, where in fact right now they are really prioritizing confidential funds, intel funds, and so on. So I think that's really basic. When we would uplift people coming from the class D and E, I think that's one way for us to alleviate poverty and eventually have this nation building.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. My question to Precious: how can citizen participation contribute to nation building? How can citizen participation contribute to nation building? Over to you, Precious.
Thank you. That's a very, very good question. I had the privilege of sitting with the governor last week, and interestingly, this is exactly what we're talking about. And what he challenged us, again, I always like to stress that I'm a very reluctant public servant. I didn't apply for the job. I was headhunted, so to speak. And I remember initially telling the gentleman that I would not survive in government because I am a certain way, I'm a disruptor. And I said, look, I wouldn't understand your politics. I won't be able to survive. But they persisted, and I'm very grateful that I took the opportunity. I think it's very important that, especially as Nigerians, that we start to, look for our ways that we can serve. If we sit down and we are aloof and we continue the way we are continuing, two things will happen. Yes, we'll continue to jackpot, that's okay, but there is it gets to, we will all not leave Nigeria. We will not all be able to afford to leave. So even my friends who have jackpot, and my sister lives in the US, for example, but of course they follow Nigerian news because I'm still here. Our parents are still here. You have stake here. So even if I were to leave tomorrow, I will still have my parents here. My parents have no intentions of leaving Nigeria, So it's in all our interest that the country works. The question now becomes, how do I participate? I know that as Nigerians, many young people were disillusioned last year when they joined the movement and they feel like it didn't quite work out. But what I like to say is, that's why I like to teach cathedral thinking. We are not necessarily cathedral in our approach to things. And let me explain what I mean. The people who built the great cathedrals of the world, right? Many of them, it took up to the fourth generation for the St. Peter Basilicas and co to come up. So you would start it, but you would now hand it over. So the mason will hand it over to his son. The son's stonemason will hand it over to the grandson. But at the end of the day, they create a masterpiece that we pay a lot of tourism dollars to go and see. So we are too rent-seeking in our approach. Once we try something in Nigeria and we don't get results in the next 2 minutes, we give up, we move on. It doesn't work like that. We need to learn to build systems. We need to now start to put in, that little, and imagine if I'm doing my bit, You are doing your bit. I was saying to somebody again that nobody will ever be able to tell me that you can't change Nigeria. My mind is forever changed. Yes, has it been difficult in my role? Absolutely. This is the hardest thing that I've ever done. But is it possible? Yes. Is it rewarding at the end of the day? Yes. So imagine me in my corner, you in your corner, and all of us eventually, and then we're passing it on to our children. Eventually, we will get to a point where it will be enough is enough. I am very bullish about Nigeria. I think in the next 10 years, as difficult as things are, because there's technology, we have a young population, we have intelligent people like this, you know, the people on this call. It's a matter of time. Something is definitely going to give. Is it that we will crack from internally, or our diasporan community will crack from outside? But crack will crack. And like I like to say to myself, I want to be part of, you know, something positive. I want my children to be able to say at least their mother tried to do something. So I think that citizens can be part. Look for what area, you know, the design thinking principle, employee value proposition, you know, minimum viable product. I beg your pardon. What is the tiny thing that I can do as Precious? What is the tiny thing that I can do, whether in my organization or wherever, that can add up to nation building? Do I want to commit today to not put trash on the streets and clog the gutters? Do I want to, you know, pressure? Do I want to go and see who is representing my constituency, for example, in Abuja or at state level, to see, okay, how I can support them? I didn't even know that some government officials even just need help. You know, for some of them, it's just a lack of ideas. It's not necessarily that they're trying to be wicked. There's just some huge skills gap. So who can I support? I spent most of my time when I came here just helping people do presentation decks, because some people just don't know how to. So how can I support? What can I do? And I assure you that there's always something to do. And I would say it again and again and sound almost insane. I'm very bullish about Nigeria. And yes, to answer your question, all of us can contribute to nation building. We just need to pick our own sphere of the pie, very small. And by the time we all do that, it adds up to being something really meaningful.
Interesting. Awesome. I was just going to ask you, you know, a question related to the statement that you just mentioned, where you talk about we, you know, encouraging people to, you know, ask questions, you know, the right question. What can I do to help you? Don't just assume that these people are not ready to do anything. There is a gap between the people up there and we that we are seeing the reality, you know, every day, right? So that's very good. But what are the other, how do I put this now? Practical things citizens can do to get involved, you know, in the public service transformation?
I think one of the things that we can do, and we don't use our power very well, is to organize ourselves into groups. I used to say before now that I don't like groups, but as I speak to you now, I'm part of a think tank of Nigerians, you know, led by a very fine Nigerian professor in Canada, you know, doing our bit around federalism. I'm part of another, you know, think tank around Edo professionals, seeing how we can form a very strong group so that we can advocate for policy, you know, change and all of that. Yes, all of us cannot be in government. Some of us might not even be interested in the highest offices, but we can influence policies. You know, we can sit as HR professionals and say, you know what, pick a subnational, for example, how do we support, you know, the Lagos state government as this community, you know, look for some inroads there. How do we support JUPSA, for example, the Edo state government as this community? What are the things that we can do to help? So we can organize ourselves into very strong think tanks and be pressure groups. It's one of the things that we don't use quite well in this country, but they use it very well in the US. They have all sorts of associations that politicians must talk to when they are running for elections. So we can decide to say, okay, our interest is in HR, making sure that the public service has the right kind of personnel, and organize ourselves into group, make our voices heard, be powerful enough, and then influence policies, because we need to. You'll be surprised. Some of the policies, you know, documents that we have in Nigeria in terms of laws and all, they're obsolete. I know that the VAP law and the one against I think trafficking of women and girls in Edo, what we had was from the colonial times or something that had recently been changed We still have some laws that are like Bendel laws, some laws that are when we were under military rule, and then you wonder why it is that we are where we are. So we can sit down as a group and just decide that, okay, this is the part that we want to influence, and then go ahead to do, to do that. So there's so much that we can do. We can do things around advocacy. We can work for government like myself. We can decide to say, okay, we want to support a subnational in terms of using our skills. We can volunteer to help. I know that when I was in Lagos, I used to do training for public schools. I taught for free, even the police college during my NYSC days for an entire year. I was going to teach I was teaching them Millennium Development Goals at the time. So there's so much, and some of those police men and women have risen through the ranks. Some of them were still friends till today, and we support each other. So there's so much that we can do. It's easier to do it as a group, I always think. I know that in Nigeria, sometimes we like individual things, but I can say this as someone who was able to grow something very quickly. In 1 year, I didn't do it alone. I worked with a group of people supporting me, giving me ideas, telling me the direction to go. And it has helped me accelerate faster than I would have done it where I'm just working alone. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. This question goes to both of you. How can introverts be effective leaders? How can introverts be effective leaders? Yeah, so maybe Dr. Michael wants to go first, then you share your insights. Dr. Michael?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I always believe that most introverts are good listeners, so I think that's a very good core. Yeah, like what I have mentioned earlier, as a good leader, you need to be an active listener. So a first reason introverts could be a good leader is that they often listen to people. They are not the ones fond of talking, but they are the ones who are really into listening. And by listening, you are able to know people, you're able to, establish this good relationship with people. So I always believe that leaders are not just for extrovert who are outgoing, who are gregarious, who are dynamic, but leaders but at the same time, introverts may possess, let's say, a quiet power.
Okay.
Like example, I think it's Oprah Winfrey who is very much open to saying that she is an introvert, but she is a very good leader. It all boils down to good listeners.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. Precious?
I would agree, with Dr. Michael there, talking about introverts being, good listeners, for example. But you see, everything can be learned. I believe that strongly, and we can all function in different capacities. What does it take to be a good leader? For me, I think one of the things is having empathy. Can an introvert or an extrovert have empathy? The answer is yes, both people can. Being able to influence other people, to do things, not just because you said so, that's a manager, but because they are inspired by your example. Can an introvert or an extrovert be an inspirational person? I think the answer is yes. So I don't necessarily think that it's about being introverted or extroverted, but it's about embodying the qualities of a good leader. Someone who is empathetic, someone who can, inspire seemingly ordinary people, to do extraordinary things. That's a leader, the person who is inspirational, the person who listens, the person who is happy to serve. And an extrovert can serve, an introvert can serve. We can all, and if you don't have those skills, there are things that you can build. So yes, anybody can be a good leader, especially an introvert as well, similar to an extrovert.
Interesting. Thank you for that. Is there anyone in the house that have any question at all? Do you have any question? If you have any question, can you raise your hand to ask your question? Yes, we can influence policy. Okay. Any other question? So this question here, it says, what role does technology play in public transformation?
Okay, I believe that question is for me. I think technology plays a huge role. I dare say that you cannot do public sector transformation in 2023 without, even embedding in it digital transformation. Because one of the things you will find when you start to really interrogate the services, that the processes, the system, there's a reason why the bureaucracy is very slow. There's a reason why systems don't work. Imagine if you go and you're looking through government records, you want something from almost any government ministry. They have files for almost all citizens. Then they have to look through thousands of files before they get to your own. Even if where it has been arranged in alphabetical order, it's impossible. And then when we started our digital archiving project, you will find that a lot of documents have been eaten up. For example, when I was starting JUPSA, there was a staff training center in the 70s that was formed by the then military administration, and that had become defunct. But I wanted to understand what happened then so that I can take the lessons from there and then create an organization that will be, here way into the future. It was difficult. I had gone through our records office. I had gone everywhere. I couldn't even find the extract establishing that academy. I found it in somebody's house, is what I'm saying. Yes, I was lucky enough to be introduced to somebody who had taken it home as they retired. And were that person late now, good a thing the person was alive, maybe the children will just throw it away. And that is government records, government documents that should be there. As opposed to having something saved, we have a data center in Edo now, and then we're backing up our files. So come 20 years, 30 years, similar to the things that you put on the cloud, you can find them. So I think it will be near impossible in 2023 to do any kind of transformation work. And then transformation also, digitization, I beg your pardon, also helps with transparency. When things are online, when things are, somebody might not like your face, but they cannot deny. I mean, not everybody is my friend. I don't sell ice cream here. So you can imagine that in doing my work, I've dislodged a lot of, traditional systems, and I get a lot of resistance still. But if I send you something, if I send it to you via paper and you throw it away, you can tell me that you didn't see. But if I send it to you via eGov, it will hit your box and you see. So it helps transparency, it helps the culture. So I would think that any kind of transformation you will be doing in the public sector, you will definitely have to take a very good look at how you will transform it digitally using technology to scale your impact.
Interesting. It's actually very amazing to see that because we all know that every HR manager, it's a dream to actually effect change and see transformation, in a various organizations. And operating, trying to do this, achieve this in corporate organization is hard, not to talk of in a state where there are a lot of power play and a lot of drama, political drama, and here and there. It's quite obvious because even the governor of Edo State, His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki, during the last event that you had, was seen very happy, and she even said that if you feel so fulfilled because you are one of those great women who have helped his administration to achieve excellently during the course of his administration. So how did you manage the politics? I know you spoke briefly about it. What were the obstacles you experienced, and how did you navigate them? If you don't mind sharing with us.
I think experienced, I wish it was experienced. What are the obstacles you're experiencing is more like it, because I'm still in the middle of it. I'm just very privileged to have a boss that really believes in what I'm doing. I think it's so many different things. So constantly negotiating different tensions. Number one, I'm a woman. There's always that. I'm also not up to 40 yet. So for the position, I think I'm the youngest in terms of the people holding the kind of position that I hold, like head of agency or and so I'm definitely the youngest at 38. So there was also that, you know, I recall somebody said, oh, they brought a child to come and run the agency. So there's that, right? Then she's female and I'm from a very traditional state. So there's also that. And because again, my surname, so even though I'm Ogbomo, I'm a Bini girl, there was also the why is she a journal, you know, and all that. Did they bring a foreigner from Lagos, an Igbo girl, to come and do business in Benin and that kind of thing? So I find myself even speaking my language a little bit more now. I'm just so that there are no doubts that I'm from here. But it's all those different things. And then also, just to also say that training used to be welfare, quote and unquote. So even though they were training budgets, people didn't do training. It was welfare. Quite frankly, I was not aware of that when I took the role. Maybe if I knew, I wouldn't have. So just by existing, I had disrupted some people's yeah, so that had happened. And, you know, so you also have to kind of also manage that. And then you also have a governor, you know, civil servants like to travel. You can't blame them. They like to go to other places and all because you will earn something called a duty tour allowance when you travel, a DTA. So the implication of doing training at JUPSA in Benin is that you're not going to earn that DTA, you're just going to be doing it locally. So what is the incentive to come? And that's the reason why I tell my staff all the time that when it comes to the excellence game, we cannot negotiate it. Because if somebody is going to be quote and unquote losing something just by coming to do the training locally, we must provide superior quality than if they were going somewhere. So I don't joke with the kind of, you know, facilitators who do training here because we're only as good as the experts that come to, you know, talk to our people. So it's very important for us to play that excellence game, that quality game. And because, again, the Edo people are aspirational, is the reason why you will find us in different parts of the world, whether on the positive side or on the negative side. When people see something that is good and something that is excellent, they also appreciate it. So for me also, I go into stakeholder management, not from a victim perspective, because I'm a leader myself, but from a let me understand where you're coming from perspective. So that's where I go. And I feel like nobody's really inherently wicked. Many times people don't understand each other. That's where, you know, the disagreement come from. So to the part about the female side, I educate. You know, when people say, oh, can women lead? Absolutely, yes. And I spend a lot of, you know, time and effort trying to be the best female leader that I can possibly be. That's the first thing. Can young people lead? Again, the answer is yes. And that's the reason why, you know, I tell my staff, we're the youngest brand quota, so we must outwork everyone. We must give people an example so that they see that yes, and then they become comfortable. So now that we are here, people have seen the things that we can do. Those sort of things don't come up anymore. But of course, on the part about, you know, maybe welfare and other kinds of things, what we also try to sell is the long-term vision to the leaders to say, look, picture a service where you have, you know, round squares and, you know, people who can actually deliver value. It doesn't only just have political value for you. I mean, you can win elections, yes, when you have a workforce that knows what they're doing and citizens are being served, it becomes easier for you to win elections. So there's political value, but even beyond that also, if you look at the other side of things, you have a state, because the civil and public service, that's government. Government is made up of the civil and public service. So if we have a functional civil and public service, then government actually is able to fulfill its role as an enabler, and that serves all of us, whether you're the elite class, whether you're the political class, or whether you're the commoner. So those are some of the things that we try to sell. So we try to sell the vision, and I'm always very happy to engage. And I am very transparent in terms of how this organization is run. So you need information. We have an open door policy. You can walk into my office, you know, speak to my PA, see me. I'm happy to answer questions. Yes, some people. So what the feedback we're getting now is no longer that we're not competent. So nobody says that actually. In fact, when they want to get things done, they say that you should talk to us. But of course, there's still going to be some difficulty here and there. Okay, she might not play the other game, but it's fine. I feel like if we continue to push and push and push, we'll get to a place in our arts in this country where people are happy that things are working, as opposed to profiting from things that are not working. So I also recognize that it's a process, and that helps me not to get frustrated when I feel like, you know, there are saboteurs and things are not going my way.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Final question before I let you go. What's your advice to MD CEOs who probably might be on the call, who have been trying to, ensure there is transformation in their company? Because the truth of the matter is that transformation of one company is a transformation, of the country, and that's actually our goal. We see ourselves as HR managers, our members as HR managers or HR practitioners as the bridge, between this transformation. Because when there's a transformation in one company, you see, the truth is a lot of us, we don't know the implication of companies not working. We don't know the implication of foreign companies leaving because of difficulties in running business in Nigeria and all of that. There was a time I don't know what it is that I wanted to buy, and they said is 1,200 naira. So I was like, I lamented, and I was like, what is the reason? The person just said the company producing this thing has relocated from Nigeria. To be honest, it's the price increase is completely outrageous. It's like from something being sold for 150 naira to 1,000 naira, 1,200. That is when it even hit me deep. Like I knew, the implication of all of this, but that's what we keep saying. The longevity is not just about registering company. If you go to CAC now, or check CAC record online, you will see millions of companies, registered. And how many of these companies, first of all, are active? How many of them are in business? How many of them that started business? How many of the registered companies ever started to even do business? You understand this, how we register business and we put the paper in even while we are still working, because we don't have the resources, we don't have the courage to start. Then some people have the courage to start, no business, no funding, no customer, nothing, as in they quit. And some even have the money to start, but the economy is not conducive for them and they have to shut down. So we see a lot of MDCOs struggling. What is your advice for people like this, please? How can we ensure transformation in all our companies in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. I think that as a matter of survival, we need to embrace transformation. That's what I say. It's evolve or die. Those are the two options that we have as a business. Is evolve or die. It's the same options you have as government. It's the same options you have as a business. I mean, I thought you were talking about bread when you said 1,000. I think I know what you're talking about. A drug company that left Nigeria.
I'm going to add this
quickly.
Can you hear? To answer the question as well. Yeah. I want you to specifically advise MDCOs the kind of support they should give to their HR managers, right? Because actually you are my colleague in one consulting firm before. So you've worked as HR and you are currently now working even as HR in a public sector, right? And you've enjoyed different leaders giving you support to help you achieve what you have been able to achieve for them. What do you have as an advice to all these MDCOs in terms of supporting and believing in their HR managers? Thank you.
I think we really need to allow the HR managers do their jobs. Like I say in my organization, as someone who used to work as a manager now, I'm in charge of the entire organization, is to say you need to get the right people through the door. One of the books I recommend is Good to Great by Jim. Go read that book. Get the right people on the bus and then take the people that are not supposed to be on the bus away. Once you've sorted that out, then when people are working for you, empower them to do their jobs is really, really critical. Empower your HR person to work, to be able to deliver success. We find that in Nigeria, more often than not, whether in private or public sectors, we micromanage. My first boss did an appraisal for me. I was 21 at the time. And he said, Precious works best when she's not being micromanaged. And it's the truth for me till tomorrow. Again, I was talking to my governor last week and he was talking to someone on the table whilst we were having lunch. And he said, look, when you employ talents, get out of their way and let talent do what talent does. And that's the best advice I can say. If you believe that this person knows, I can imagine all the time I wanted to transform JUPSA do it in a certain way, and then the governor said, no, don't do this, don't do that. I'll be so frustrated, you know. But what I do is I align. This is the direction I'm thinking, sir. Be sure that it aligns with his direction. And once it does, in terms of how I now implement it, I have creative freedom to do that, and it allows me shine. So it's very important that your staff feels supported, especially your HR partner. That person is your partner in success. You know, your HR partner in your organization is your partner in success. That's the person who is managing your most critical resource, which is the human beings that are driving your vision forward. So that's not the person to now start to micromanage or not trust. If you don't trust them, get them out of the door, but employ somebody that you can work with. And then to the first question on transformation, it is urgent. Organizations today must be flexible. Being agile is no more something you go and study. It's something that you have to be. You have to be ready to respond to change. Things are changing. Exchange rates are changing. The market is changing. Your consumers are changing. Their needs. I mean, a lot of Nigerians are leaving the country now. What kind of business opportunities, you know, cross-border opportunities exist for your business, you know? And the thing with change and understanding the trends is a smart CEO is not fighting trends. That's not what you want to do, lament and wish for the days of the past. No, you want to understand the trends and you want to capitalize on it. How do I ride on these trends to succeed? So let me tell you one of the things I'm launching next year at JUPSA. I want to have a diasporan faculty. So in terms of our online training, it will be powered by our diasporan faculty. I mean, I cannot get all of them back into Nigeria, but I know that a lot of great resources, they've left the country. So how do I get them online to come and train my people? Do you see what sort of linkages can exist? So instead of lamenting what opportunities exist, should I be opening shop in other African countries? Should I be doing this? Should I pivot online? Where is serving my business? And how agile is my organization? And then am I punishing people for mistakes? Because organizations that punish severely for mistakes, what you are doing on the other side is you are killing creativity. If you want to run a creative organization, you need to make it okay. And this is not popular, but it's the truth. You need to make it okay for people to safely make mistakes and learn from it. Practice make progress, not perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. So again, finally though, you now need to lead by example. One of my staff sent me something last week that really touched me to my core. Your people, they are watching you. They don't do what you do. They do what you are. So you need to, as the leader, be quote and unquote a servant leader, the kind of person that can inspire people, especially when you are not there, to be the very best that they can be. I'm not in my organization all the time, and this is public sector. Sometimes I need to travel for extended periods as we're trying to build a brand, go and have meetings with this, have meetings, and the organization still runs. In fact, somebody came from Lagos, some of our faculty, and was calling me to say, I thought you were around. Everything was running like you were even there. You need to give people a reason to believe what you believe. And it must be by example and not just saying, oh, I've paid them, and because you have paid them, you can use. No. It goes, leadership goes beyond that. I hope that was helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. Dr. Rodriguez, please, can we have your final word as we bring this to a close? Your parting words, please. It's Dr. still in our midst, Dr. Michael. Okay, I think he has dropped. Also, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for this great time out with us. We really appreciate you. Admin, please, can we have this next presentation as we appreciate our guest speaker? Okay, on behalf of HR with TA Professional Network, I want to present this certificate of appreciation to 3 guest speakers at this August event in October. Olubusola Abidakun, Michael Rodriguez, and Precious Ajonu, in recognition for your contribution to the HR body of learning in Nigeria, across the world, and on our platform, HR with TA platforms. all the while. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the quality presentation and the effort that you put into this. Thank you for agreeing to doing this with us. We wish you well in all your endeavor. Thank you so much. And to all our participants, we say a very big thank you. I can see someone with 0545. Thank you. Adekoya M. Adenike, thank you. Akin Adediran Mrs. Thank you. Immediately after this, please let's have the national anthem to